Chapter 1 Novice Gift Package. Chapter 1 Novice Gift Package. Age 774, Earth, Fire Mountain. Swoosh, swoosh. Boom, boom, boom. A diminutive figure covered in golden ki trained relentlessly. With each punch, a mountain peak crumbled into dust. After a grueling 5 hours of training, the child came to a halt. By this time, he was already drenched in sweat. This child is Son Goten, the second son of Son Goku, the protagonist of Dragon Ball. Phew! I still can't break through Super Saiyan 2. With my current strength, I wouldn't stand a chance against Cell if he were to return. Goten clenched his fists tightly, speaking in a resolute tone, talking to himself. But at this moment, Son Goten is no longer the original Son Goten. Because within Son Goten's body, another soul from Blue Planet called Earth resided. That's correct, Ryan Lee found himself transported to the world of Dragon Ball due to an accident 3 years ago. And he directly merged with Son Goten, who was merely 4 years old. Their souls fused, but gradually, after their soul fully merged, Son Goten's soul faded away over the past 3 years. Ryan Lee now completely controls this body. After 3 years of intense training, combined with his understanding of the Saiyans, Goten has achieved the full power of Super Saiyan. However, no matter what, he can't reach the level of Super Saiyan 2. This left him feeling distressed. Because in this timeline, Son Goku, Son Gohan, and Vegeta were all killed during the Cell games 8 years ago. Cell didn't perish, but after eliminating Son Goku and Son Gohan, he considered Earth to be devoid of worthy opponents and grew bored. He ventured into the universe in search of stronger adversaries. Cell may return to Earth at any moment. If Goten fails to achieve the second form of Super Saiyan by then, he will be unable to confront Cell. 8 years have passed since the Cell games. It's likely that Cell's power has grown even stronger now. Perhaps even if he attains Super Saiyan 2, he still won't be a match for Cell at all. Nevertheless, this remains his last glimmer of hope. Only by unlocking Super Saiyan 2 can he entertain the possibility of defeating Cell. Goten, come and have something to eat before your training. At that moment, a feminine voice chimed in. It was Chi-Chi, Goten's mother. Chi-Chi now wholeheartedly supports Son Goten's training. She even takes the initiative to train Son Goten on occasion. In the past, she strongly disapproved of Son Goku and Son Gohan's training, believing that being a scholar held more value than being a fighter. However, the deaths of Son Goku and Son Gohan 8 years ago opened her eyes completely. Some things cannot be solved by scholarship alone. Even if every human being on Earth became a scholar, they would never be able to halt Cell. This realization made her fully grasp the importance of a fighter. Although Cell vanished for 8 years, they all know that Cell will undoubtedly return. Goten has Saiyan blood and is the sole survivor among the Saiyans. He is the only warrior with a chance to defeat Cell and protect the Earth. Therefore, he must train rigorously and surpass Goku and Gohan to become a fighter capable of defeating Cell. He must safeguard this fragile world and avenge Goku and Gohan. Okay, Mom, I'll be right there. Son Goten promptly replied. When I fused souls with Son Goten, I developed a special bond with Chi-Chi. So, even now, Goten feels no awkwardness in calling her mom. And Chi-Chi has indeed proven to be a highly qualified mother, at least in these past few years. I'm going to serve the meal, come here quickly. After Chi-Chi said that, she returned to the room. Ring. How can I achieve Super Saiyan 2? Do I have to witness Cell killing my mother before I can transform into Super Saiyan 2? If that's the case, the price would be too high. Goten furrowed his brow and continued talking to himself. In this world, Chi-Chi is the person he cares about the most. She is also his only family in this world. If Chi-Chi's death is the cost of achieving Super 2, he can't accept it. After 3 years of bonding and caring for her deeply, Chi-Chi has long been his mother in his heart. Ding! The host's desire for strength has reached its maximum, and the God-level attribute picking system is being activated. 1%, 10%, 50%, 100%. The system has been activated, and the novice gift package will be issued. May I ask if the host wants to open the novice gift package? Just when Goten was feeling extremely complicated feeling, pleasant electronic synthesis sounds suddenly echoed in his mind, one after another. A system? Is this my system? Has it finally appeared? Excitement. Unparalleled excitement. Upon hearing the delightful electronic synthesis sound, Son Goten couldn't help but tremble with anticipation. It had been 3 years, a full 3 years since his arrival. His golden finger system had finally surfaced. Transmigrated novels truly didn't deceive him. There was absolutely no way the system could be absent. Open it immediately. Overflowing with excitement, Son Goten swiftly issued the command in his mind without hesitation. He eagerly anticipated the fantastic rewards that awaited him in the novice gift package. Would there be an opportunity to unlock Super Saiyan 2 for himself? The novice gift package has been opened. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Ultra Instinct Sign. Accompanied by the system's electronic synthesis sound, a clear message about Ultra Instinct instantaneously appeared in Goten's mind. Once again, his body trembled with exhilaration. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 2 Going to Kame House. Chapter 2 Going to Kame House. OMG. Unbelievable. Oh my god. Is that Ultra Instinct sign? Goten shouted excitedly. Initially, I was wondering if I could break through Super Saiyan 2 with the rewards from the novice package. Unexpectedly, I was directly rewarded with Ultra Instinct sign. This was definitely a surprise. This kind of novice gift pack is truly shocking and unbelievable. Although it's not the perfect Ultra Instinct, even Ultra Instinct sign alone is ridiculously powerful. As a transmigrator, Goten is well aware of the power of Ultra Instinct. In the Dragon Ball Super Tournament of Power, if taken Jiren from the 11th universe as a reference. At first, Goku added 20 times Kaioken to his Super Saiyan Blue form, but he couldn't even shake Jiren. Jiren easily defeated Goku with just a mere attack. But when Goku awakened Ultra Instinct sign, he was able to leave scars on Jiren's face and effortlessly dodge all of Jiren's attacks. This alone is enough to prove the power of Ultra Instinct. Excited, Goten hastened to study the system again. The God-level attribute picking system, as the name suggests, provides a certain chance to acquire attributes dropped by opponents during battles. This includes combat power, skills, bloodline, superpowers, and more. I must say, this system is truly powerful. In other words, if I fight the god of destruction Beerus, I have a chance to acquire Beerus exclusive destruction power. If I fight an angel, is it possible to acquire the perfect Ultra Instinct and other abilities of an angel? Goten was still in a state of shock and ecstasy. With Ultra Instinct sign, he can confidently defeat Cell. As long as Cell appears on Earth, it will be his demise. However, Ultra Instinct sign has very high physical requirements. If the body isn't strong enough, it won't be able to withstand Ultra Instinct sign. It seems I must quickly improve my physical strength before Cell returns to Earth. Although the appearance of the system and Ultra Instinct sign excited him greatly, Goten soon calmed down and thought about the disadvantages of Ultra Instinct sign. He doesn't want to die alongside Cell after using Ultra Instinct sign. So, the most important thing right now isn't breaking through to Super Saiyan 2, but rather focusing on improving physical strength. Moreover, all Saiyan transformations increase basic combat power. As long as the basic combat power is extraordinarily high, even Cell can be defeated. As soon as he thought of this, Goten suddenly felt a clear sense of clarity, like seeing the blue sky after the clouds cleared. Goten, why are you still daydreaming? Hurry up and eat. Chi-Chi's voice sounded again. Okay. Goten was in a good mood at that moment and quickly responded. He then leaped forward, appearing instantly in front of Chi-Chi. You kid, you really have the same personality as your father Goku. You never know when to stop training. Chi-Chi affectionately rubbed Goten's head and said, Goten, this boy, is even more diligent in training than Goku and Gohan. But she also knows that Goten is under unprecedented pressure. Goku, Gohan, Vegeta, and even Trunks, they all fell victim to Cell. He is now the sole surviving Saiyan on Earth, the only warrior left. Naturally, he has to work harder than Goku and the others to protect the Earth. Thinking that Goten, at just 7 years old, has to bear such immense pressure, Chi-Chi feels deeply distressed. But there's no other way. Goten is likely the only one on Earth who can stop Cell now. Because in the Cell games 8 years ago, almost all the fighters perished in battle. The only survivors were Master Roshi and Krillin. However, they are mere Earthlings with limited potential, not enough to be Cell's adversaries. At the dinner table, Chi-Chi said, Goten, Mom worries about you so much. You're so young, yet you have to shoulder such tremendous responsibility to protect the world. It's all Goku's fault. They could have been revived with Earth's Dragon Balls and dealt with Cell. But those fools believe in letting nature take its course, unwilling to disrupt the balance between life and death. They are already deceased and have no desire to be resurrected. Now they are enjoying their blessings in the afterlife, while you suffer. Chi-Chi looked at Goten with a pained expression on her face. At this point, she and Bulma still can't understand what Goku and Vegeta are thinking. Clearly, they had the chance to be brought back to life, yet they declined. It's okay, Mom. Don't worry. I will protect you and this Earth, Goten said earnestly. That Goku has always been like that. And Vegeta naturally wants to be by Goku's side so they can continue their eternal rivalry. Well, my Goten is the best. Hurry up and eat. After we finish, let's go to Kame House. Master Roshi was your father's teacher. Although he may not possess much fighting power, he is highly accomplished in martial arts. Let him guide you, Chi-Chi added. In the past, Goten would have avoided contact with Master Roshi and the others altogether. After all, Master Roshi was a notorious pervert, and not all the people around him were good influences. She was afraid that he would learn from them back then. But the situation now is completely different from before. The Earth is without the protection of Goku and Vegeta, and there's not much she can offer to Goten. Even though she feels reluctant, she recognizes that Master Roshi's martial arts expertise far surpasses her own. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 3 Youngest Super Saiyan. Chapter 3 Youngest Super Saiyan. Is it near Gengoro Island? Great. Goten nodded without hesitation. Not that he believed he could learn anything from Master Roshi. The main reason is that I can try my own techniques in the past this time. Have a little fun with them to see if I can master Kamehameha or other abilities. Krillin's Key Circle Cut is also impressive. Key Circle Cut is a skill that can inflict real damage. The user's strength determines the power of Key Circle Cut. The stronger the user, the stronger the attack. This ability can have unexpected effects in battle. It's like when Krillin was fighting on Namek. Despite having a power level of only 10,000, Krillin successfully chopped off Frisia's tail with key circle cut. Keep in mind that at that time, Frieza in his second form had a power level of 1 million. After finish eating their meal, Goten and Chi-Chi soon arrived near Gengaro Island. There is still a considerable distance between Fire Mountain and Gengaro Island. The flight took more than 10 minutes. Of course, Goten slowed down considering Chi-Chi's strength. Near Gengaro Island. Chi-Chi, is he? The moment Master Roshi and Krillin saw Goten, both of them opened their mouths in surprise. The kid next to Chi-Chi looks exactly like Goku when he was a child. In fact, they had already guessed the child's identity. It's just a little unbelievable. Because Goku has been dead for 8 years, it's hard for them to believe. You two guessed correctly. His name is Goten, and he is also Goku's son, Chi-Chi said straightforwardly. Indeed, no wonder he looks exactly like Goku. It's so similar, it's like a replica. Both of them blinked and stared intently at Goten. It's remarkable how powerful genes can be. Gohan was at least a little different from Goku when he was young. But the Goten standing before them is an exact replica of child Goku. Goten has great fighting talent. The reason for my visit this time is to ask for your help in training him. You should understand very well that Cell may return to Earth at any time, and no one will be able to stop him then. Our only hope is Goten. Chi-Chi spoke with great seriousness. Although she really doesn't want Goten to stay with these two guys. What? Both Master Roshi and Krillin wore expressions of surprise. Chi-Chi's statement seems somewhat unbelievable. Chi-Chi, I recall that you were strongly against Gohan's training before. Why the sudden change now? After a moment of shock, Krillin asked. He remembered that Goku took Gohan to train a few years ago and nearly got killed by Chi-Chi. Why has her attitude suddenly shifted? If Goku was still alive, I would never let Goten have anything to do with you. But given the circumstances, there's no other option. Chi-Chi spoke seriously, facing the surprised Master Roshi and Krillin. It's just impossible now. Both of them got embarrassed instantly. But as they looked at Goten, they seemed to see hope. Because Goten and Goku are so similar. Goku is incredibly strong, so Goten must be too. Goten, can we witness your strength? I remember when Gohan was around your age, he was already quite powerful. Krillin looked at Goten and asked. However, the situations of Goten and Gohan in front of them are completely different. When Gohan was 4 years old, he was captured by Piccolo and forced to train. He also experienced the potential unlocked from the Great Elder Namek, as well as the battles on Namek and against Frieza. Afterward, Gohan received training from Goku and Piccolo. On the other hand, it's evident that Goten didn't receive such treatment. Because the stronger fighters on Earth were all killed in the Cell games. Although Chi-Chi has some martial arts skills, she is only slightly better than an average person. Training as Saiyan is simply impossible. Don't underestimate Goten, you too. Even though he's only 7 years old now, he achieved Super Saiyan transformation when he was 4 years old. Chi-Chi said with a proud expression. Goten is undoubtedly the youngest Super Saiyan ever. This might be attributed to Goku's genes. Remember 8 years ago, during the first few days of the Cell games, Goku maintained his Super Saiyan form. Goten being able to achieve Super Saiyan at the age of 4 might be the reason. What? Super Saiyan? Master Roshi and Krillin were shocked to hear that Goten could transform into a Super Saiyan. After all, Goku didn't become a Super Saiyan until he was 25 years old. And Vegeta, when he became a Super Saiyan, was over 30 years old. The youngest Super Saiyan before Goten was Gohan, who achieved it when he entered the Hyperbolic Time Chamber at the age of 10. But Goten, at the age of 4, can turn into a Super Saiyan? Moreover, Goten doesn't have Goku's guidance and teaching experience at all. In other words, he achieved this breakthrough by himself. Are they kidding? This is too unbelievable. Goten, may I witness your Super Saiyan form? For the past few years, I've been training relentlessly to confront Cell. Shocked, Krillin stepped forward and looked at Goten, asking. He wants to see how strong Goten is after achieving Super Saiyan. Because he knows that a Saiyan's foundation in combat is the most crucial aspect. Even if one becomes a Super Saiyan, without a strong foundation, the power increase won't be significant. Okay. Goten nodded. It suits him as well. Considering his battle with Krillin, can he even catch a Destructo Disc? Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 4 Destructo Disc. Chapter 4 Destructo Disc. Master Roshi and Krillin were filled with anticipation as they hadn't witnessed a Super Saiyan transformation in 8 years. Goten's fists clenched slightly, and in an instant, a surge of golden ki burst forth from his body. His hair turned golden, and his pupils became a light shade of green. It was the unmistakable form of a Super Saiyan. The golden flames like ki surrounding his body soon dissipated, indicating that he had already mastered the full power of the Super Saiyan form. It truly is a Super Saiyan, exclaimed Master Roshi. Fantastic, Goten. You're a genius, Krillin praised. Observing Goten's Super Saiyan form, Krillin tightly clenched his fists, his face filled with excitement. After 8 years, he was once again witnessing the awe-inspiring sight of a Super Saiyan. The excitement was indescribable, reminiscent of when Gohan and Goku emerged from the hyperbolic time chamber. To achieve Super Saiyan without any assistance, Krillin marveled. This kid's talent surpasses that of Goku and Vegeta. Master Roshi, known for his usually cynical demeanor, revealed an expression of disbelief. To think that at only 7 years old, he can become a Super Saiyan. This is undoubtedly a talent that Goku and Vegeta lack. Witnessing the astonishment and disbelief on their faces, Chi-Chi felt a deep sense of pride. After all, Goten was her son, and she had played a significant role in raising him. You're amazing, Goten, she praised. Come on, let's see your power as a Super Saiyan, Krillin eagerly suggested. Had it been 8 years ago, Krillin would have never fathomed the idea of battling a Super Saiyan. However, since Goku and the others perished during the Cell Games, he had been training relentlessly every day, burdened with guilt. As the sole surviving warrior at the time, he shouldered the immense responsibility of protecting the Earth and stopping Cell. Consequently, over the past 8 years, he had devoted himself to rigorous training and felt that he had made substantial progress in his strength. Goten, being only 7 years old, seemed like a suitable sparring partner. Very well, let's do it, Goten calmly responded, signaling his readiness to engage in combat. Few years of intense training had greatly enhanced his overall fighting capabilities. While his base power might not have reached the levels of Goku and Gohan during the Cell Games, the disparity wasn't insurmountable. Hence, defeating Krillin even in his regular form would be more than sufficient for Goten. Alright, here I come. Don't underestimate me, Krillin said with a smile, assuming a fighting stance. In the blink of an eye, his body darted toward Goten with astonishing speed, leaving afterimages in its wake. Goten couldn't help but feel a bit surprised by Krillin's velocity. He hadn't expected Krillin's strength to reach such heights. Nevertheless, surprise aside, Krillin's speed was still too slow for Goten's liking. Ha! Krillin threw a punch, but Goten effortlessly sidestepped, evading the attack. Ah-da-day-day. Krillin continued to launch attack after attack, despite missing his initial strike. The fist swept through the air like a hurricane, causing the sea to churn with rough waves. Gravel scattered in all directions under the force of the sweeping wind. Goten, boy, is incredibly strong, exclaimed Master Roshi. Perhaps he's our hope to defeat Cell. An immediate thought crossed Master Roshi's mind. With just a few dodges, he could already sense the immense strength possessed by Goten. It was a level of strength that Krillin could never hope to achieve. As expected of Goku's son? On the other side, Krillin continued his relentless assault. It must be acknowledged that his strength had indeed undergone a qualitative breakthrough compared to 8 years ago. However, the gap between him and Goten was quite significant. From start to finish, Goten's feet never moved as he evaded dozens of Krillin's attacks. This is amazing. This kid hasn't even budged and managed to dodge all my strikes. Amazing. There's newfound hope for Earth. Krillin exclaimed. Despite all his attacks being effortlessly dodged, Krillin was not angered, rather, he was extremely excited. He saw a glimmer of hope for Earth in Goten's abilities. The burden on his shoulders seemed to lighten in an instant. Goten, try my special technique. Destructo Disc, 10 blades. Krillin suddenly smiled and raised his right hand high. A golden circular blade materialized in the palm of his hand, which he then hurled directly at Goten. This was Krillin's unique skill, the Destructo Disc. However, he had strengthened it in recent years. Goten remained unperturbed. When the Destructo Disc was merely 5 meters away, it split into 10 separate pieces. Fascinating. Goten smiled. He lightly touched the ground with his toes and instantly soared into the air. He was well aware of the destructiveness of the Destructo Disc and had no intention of directly confronting it with his body. That would be utter foolishness. The 10 pieces of the Destructo Disc changed direction instantly, closely tailing Goten's movements. Once again, Goten evaded, but the Destructo Disc pursued him as if it had a built-in tracker. Since I can't hide, let's dismantle it. Goten suddenly turned around. Ah! He released 2 energy waves directly. Rumble! An explosion reverberated through the sky. Thick smoke billowed as the 10 Destructo Discs were obliterated. After all, the disparity in strength between the two of them was too vast. Ding! Congratulations to the host for acquiring the skill Destructo Discs. Ding! Congratulations to the host for gaining a power boost of *120000. At the moment when the Destructo Discs were destroyed, the system's electronic synthesized voice echoed in Goten's mind. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 5 Hyperbolic Time Chamber. Chapter 5 Hyperbolic Time Chamber. Sure enough. Although the Destructo Disc is not particularly powerful, it still demonstrates a high probability of acquiring the skill during battle. Upon hearing the electronically synthesized sound of the system, Goten remained elated. In future battles, the Destructo Disc could be considered a small-time handy trump card. However, when Krillin used it, its strength was not very impressive. That's because Krillin himself is too weak in terms of power. If I were to use it, the effect would undoubtedly be much stronger than his. Moreover, with greater personal strength, the power of the Destructo Disc would definitely be amplified. Whoosh! Goten's body landed in front of Krillin. He then asked with a smile, "Would you like to continue, Mr. Krillin?" Because it feels a little awkward when I call him Uncle Krillin. Krillin and Chi-Chi are completely different. Never mind. You're incredibly strong, kid. The gap between us is too vast. Krillin shook his head with a wry smile. He couldn't recall any of the hundreds of attacks he threw, and he could even effortlessly neutralize the Destructo Disc. The two of them are simply not on the same level. Chi-Chi, you're amazing. You've managed to raise Goten to be so powerful. Later, Master Roshi and Krillin also expressed their admiration for Chi-Chi. An unarmed single mother could actually train such a formidable son. In addition to Goten's inherent strength and talent, Chi-Chi played an indispensable role. Of course, my Goten is already very strong. Chi-Chi naturally felt proud. Who doesn't like being praised? Alright, the two of you can train with Goten. I'll come by to see Goten next week. After saying that, Chi-Chi retrieved the capsule that Bulma had given her earlier, took out the helicopter, and departed. Master Roshi, let's have another sparring match. After Chi-Chi left, Goten turned to Master Roshi. After all, he still hadn't learned the Kamehameha. 3 days flew by in an instant. Although Goten had been training with Krillin for the past 3 days, Krillin's strength was truly inadequate. He couldn't pose as a worthy opponent at all, making the training rather ineffective. Hence, Goten decided to visit the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. The conditions there were even harsher, making it more suitable for physical training. Goten, are you really determined to train in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber? The environment there is extremely harsh, and the gravity is 10 times that of Earth. Krillin and Master Roshi inquired upon hearing Goten's decision. After all, Goten was only 7 years old, so pushing his body to enhance his strength might not be the best course of action. Yes. I have made up my mind. I don't know when Cell will reappear. My current strength is insufficient to handle him easily. Goten nodded firmly and declared. Although Ultra Instinct Sign could easily defeat Cell, if his body wasn't strong enough, he wouldn't be able to control the immense power of Ultra Instinct. In that case, he might even harm himself. Krillin, you and Goten should train in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. Now, you two are the only warriors left on Earth, and you represent our only hope. Although the conditions there are extremely challenging, they can rapidly elevate your strength. Master Roshi advised Krillin. Goten was absolutely right. We don't know when Cell will return to Earth. Without absolute strength, it will be impossible to deal with Cell. I understand, Master Roshi. Krillin also nodded firmly. At this moment, we can only rely on the two of them. Then the two of them headed straight to the Lookout/Kami's tower. On the way, Goten also visited Korin. He took the 4 senza beans with him. By the way, he told Yajirobe not to eat those beans as a meal in the future. These things can save lives in critical moments. The Lookout/Kami's tower. Goten, Krillin, you're here. The Guardian Den rushed forward to greet them. As the Guardian of Earth, he can see everything happening on Earth clearly. Therefore, he is well aware of Goten's existence. Krillin was a bit surprised. After all, he and Master Roshi previously had no idea about Goten's existence. And judging by Den's appearance, it was obvious that he knew everything. Den, we need to go to the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. Goten directly stated their intentions. Well, I understand. Mr. Popo, please take Goten and Krillin to the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. Den nodded, now fully aware of Krillin and Goten's purpose for visiting the Lookout/Kami's tower. Alright, come with me, you two. Mr. Popo, still dark-skinned, simple, and honest as ever. Following Mr. Popo, the two soon arrived at the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. As they stepped into the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, the gravity instantly intensified. But the 10 times gravity had no effect on the two of them. Inside the small house near the entrance, food had been prepared. There was enough food for 2 people to last for 2 years. Sigh. This kind of environment is really depressing. Looking around at the vast whiteness, Goten sighed. That's why he hadn't come to the Hyperbolic Time Chamber before. It was just too depressing and monotonous. Staying there alone for 2 years would be incredibly boring. Although Krillin's strength was weak, Goten didn't expect him to be of much help in the battle against Cell. But at least having Krillin there would make the time in the hyperbolic time chamber less lonely. Okay, let's start training, Mr. Krillin. Goten fixed his gaze. The following 2 years would be filled with monotonous training. Yes. Krillin also nodded firmly. Thinking about his helplessness 8 years ago, his determination to become stronger was unwavering. He was useless in the Cell games 8 years ago. Even when Cell reached his perfect form, he had a significant responsibility. Because at that time, he had the chance to destroy Android 18 and prevent Cell from achieving his perfect form. This time, he must help Goten to make up for the mistakes he made 8 years ago. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 6, Chapter 6 Using Ultra Instinct Sign. Chapter 6 Using Ultra Instinct Sign. After a brief adjustment in their mindset, the two began their training. Right from the start, Goten and Krillin practiced sparring with each other. However, as time went on, Krillin couldn't keep up with Goten's progress. Moreover, the effectiveness of this type of training duel was diminishing. Therefore, after spending a month in the hyperbolic time chamber, they decided to train individually. Apart from taking care of their daily necessities such as eating and sleeping, the rest of their time was dedicated to training. Since entering the hyperbolic time chamber, Goten had been training in a regular combat style. This approach allowed him to work on his physical fitness and improve his fundamental combat abilities. After all, for Saiyans, basic combat power is of utmost importance. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. To outsiders, it seemed like just a day. However, for Goten and Krillin inside the hyperbolic time chamber, it had been an entire year. The conditions in the hyperbolic time chamber were indeed harsh. Furthermore, it was monotonous, making it an unpleasant experience throughout the year. Goten, I've decided to end my training in the hyperbolic time chamber and find other ways to increase my strength, Krillin suddenly said to Goten one day. He realized that staying in the hyperbolic time chamber wouldn't contribute much to his strength improvement. Due to his human heritage, he couldn't enhance his strength as rapidly as the Saiyans. Even if he stayed in the hyperbolic time chamber for another year, his progress would be minimal. To be able to fight against Cell, he needed to explore alternative methods to become stronger. Other ways to become stronger? Goten asked curiously, what could those be? During that year, his own strength had undeniably improved significantly, while Krillin's progress was relatively minor. In the world of Dragon Ball, lineage still held great importance. Lineage essentially determined a person's upper limit. I haven't figured it out yet, but I know that staying in the hyperbolic time chamber won't yield significant results for me, Krillin admitted. Not to mention fighting opponents like Cell. In fact, the Earth has become what it is now because Goku and the others were killed. I bear a lot of responsibility. Krillin shook his head, displaying a face filled with self-blame. If he had destroyed Android 18 with the remote control bomb back then, Cell wouldn't have attained his perfect form, and Goku and the others would still be alive. For the past 8 years, guilt had consumed him. It's okay, Goten assured him, you shouldn't blame yourself too much. I don't think they would blame you either. Goten nodded, gazing at Krillin, who was burdened with guilt, and offered comforting words. Okay. I'll leave now. Make sure to train hard. After spending this year together, I've come to realize that your talent is no weaker than Goku and Gohan's. I'm confident you'll be able to defeat Cell. Krillin nodded earnestly, patting Goten on the shoulder, and spoke with great seriousness. This wasn't merely to uplift Goten's spirits. Goten genuinely possessed exceptional talent. During that year, Krillin could clearly sense how Goten's strength was growing day by day. After exchanging a few more words, Krillin departed from the hyperbolic time chamber in search of alternative methods to become stronger. Meanwhile, Goten continued his training. Day after day, time slipped through their fingers like sand. In the blink of an eye, another 6 months had passed. After Krillin's departure, feelings of loneliness and boredom grew more intense. However, Goten was well aware that the strong had to endure such solitude. Over the course of the year, Goten had grown significantly taller. His overall appearance had become more angular and more defined. Especially his physique, which had become unusually robust. It bore resemblance to Gohan's during his battle against Cell. Ha! Exhausted after a day of training, Goten let out a long sigh. His training clothes had also become tattered. He proceeded to prepare a meal. Since Krillin's departure, the responsibility of cooking had fallen solely on his shoulders. After eating, his spirit was revitalized. That was the Saiyan way, strength returning after a hearty meal. I've been training for over a year, and my physique is quite formidable now. Let me try out Ultra Instinct Sign and see how long I can sustain it with my current body. Goten stood up and walked straight to the center of the time chamber. He placed the Senzu beans not far away from him, mindful not to accidentally destroy them during the upcoming trial. Those beans were a life-saving resource in critical moments. After making all the necessary preparations, Goten slowly closed his eyes. Ha! With each breath, faint silver flame-like lines emanated from his body. Gradually, these lines grew denser and denser. The next moment, Goten's eyes snapped open. His previously black pupils transformed into silver gray, and a crescent-like light flickered within them. His hair remained untouched by the wind, while a silver aura surged around his body. He appeared somewhat ethereal. Simultaneously, with the emergence of the silver aura, the temperature within the hyperbolic time chamber abruptly rose. This was a visual transformation. Is this Ultra Instinct? It feels as if my entire being is fused with space. Goten muttered to himself. At the same time, he felt an immensely powerful energy coursing through his body. If his body were a vessel, this energy was akin to a raging inferno. It was incredibly intimidating, filling the vessel to its limits. There was even a possibility of the vessel shattering at any given moment. In just 10 seconds, Goten felt overwhelmed. Subsequently, he exited the realm of Ultra Instinct. Immediately, a piercing pain spread throughout his body, as if all his limbs were being torn apart. Goten endured the pain and quickly reached for the Senzu beans, consuming one to alleviate his suffering. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 7 Cell Returns. Chapter 7 Cell Returns. After consuming a Senzu bean, the pain in his body vanished instantly. His physical condition returned to its peak state in an instant. There are still 3 months, he thought. I hope that after the 3 months are over, I will be able to maintain Ultra Instinct Sign for a longer period of time. Feeling refreshed, Goten resumed his training. The opponent he faced now was not as simple as Cell. Besides Cell, there were incredibly powerful beings in this universe. Gods of destruction and angels were unattainable entities for the current Goten. And above the gods of destruction and angels, there were even more formidable beings like Zeno and the Grand Priest. Those individuals could effortlessly destroy an entire universe. Therefore, training could not be halted for even a moment. Only by continuously practicing and growing stronger could one hope to survive in this perilous world. Meanwhile, on Earth, an immensely powerful aura suddenly emerged. In the sky, a figure materialized. It had green skin with black spots and a pair of black insect wings. This was none other than Cell, fully restored. Cell crossed his arms over his chest and glanced down at the city beneath him. Indifferently, he murmured to himself, "It's only been half a year since I left, and yet all the cities I destroyed have already been rebuilt. What a waste of effort. These humans are truly foolish. Even though they know everything will be destroyed, they still choose to rebuild. This time, I have returned, I'll completely annihilate all the cities. After all, this universe is vast, and there are countless planets better than Earth. Even if Earth is destroyed, it won't affect me," Cell sneered. "It's quite boring without Goku and Vegeta around." Cell sighed again. "I've been wandering the universe for a full 8 years this time, but I haven't found a worthy opponent. I really miss the thrill of fighting Goku and the others. After all, I possess Saiyan cells in my body, so I yearn for intense battles." "Then, let's begin by destroying that small city," Cell decided. With a flick of his finger, an energy ball instantly formed at his fingertip. Rumble. Accompanied by a deafening roar, Bridgetown was completely engulfed in a semicircular energy barrier. Within seconds, a massive crater appeared on the ground, and the entire city had been obliterated. Meanwhile, at Capsule Corporation near West City, Krillin's expression suddenly turned grave. A solemn look crossed his face. "What was that shaking just now, Krillin?" Bulma asked anxiously, noticing the ground trembling. "Could it be an earthquake?" she hurriedly inquired. However, West City hadn't experienced an earthquake in a long time. Why did it suddenly shake so violently? A sense of unease instantly crept into their hearts. "No, Cell has returned," Krillin responded, his tone and expression filled with utmost seriousness. "I can already sense its presence." Krillin clenched his fists tightly. The familiar aura from earlier was unmistakable, it had to be Cell. And it seemed that Cell's strength had grown even stronger than before. The recent tremor clearly indicated that a certain city had been destroyed. "Damn it! Cell!" Bulma exclaimed. "Is that monster back? What should we do? What should we do?" Hearing the name Cell, Bulma immediately panicked. Horror and anger were evident on her face. Vegeta, both Trunks, and Krillin's parents had all been killed by Cell, yet they couldn't seek revenge. Even now, the entire planet was at risk of being destroyed by Cell. That monster showed no mercy. "No, before Goten emerges from the hyperbolic time chamber, I'll take care of Cell," Krillin declared, determination gleaming in his eyes. Just yesterday, Bulma had transformed Krillin's body. It was the only method they could come up with to make him stronger. Android 17 and 18 had also undergone transformations into cyborg from ordinary people, so Krillin believed he could do the same. After the transformation, his strength would increase. Though he was no longer a normal human, Krillin was willing to pay any price to defeat Cell, even if it meant sacrificing his own humanity. It would be a form of redemption for his foolish actions 8 years ago. "You? Can you?" Bulma asked with concern written across her face. After all, Krillin's strength was significantly weaker compared to Vegeta and Goku. Even with him turned into cyborg, she doubted if he could defeat Cell. That monster had slain Goku and Gohan. "I'm sorry, but I know I can't stop Cell," Krillin admitted regretfully. "All I can do now is buy some time and wait until Goten emerges from the hyperbolic time chamber. The only one on Earth who can potentially stop Cell is Goten." Krillin shook his head, fully aware of his own limitations, even as an artificial human. His strength couldn't compare to Cell's. Cell was a foe whom even Super Saiyan 2 Gohan couldn't defeat. Krillin's only role now was to buy more time for Goten. "Okay, Bulma. "I'll go ahead," Krillin said, addressing Bulma. In a flash, he disappeared from the Capsule Corporation. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 8 Android Krillin vs. Perfect Form Cell. Chapter 8 Cyborg Krillin vs. Perfect Form Cell. At that moment, Cell was still admiring his masterpiece while suspended in midair. As he looked at the enormous sinkhole that had formed beneath his feet, he couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. It's a shame that I couldn't hear the desperate screams of those humans. What a pity, indeed. So, which city shall be next? Cell glanced around, a wicked smirk curling up the corner of his mouth. After scanning the surroundings, he finally set his gaze upon near West City. Then it's your turn. Prepare, this time I will hear them scream in despair, those little insects. With those chilling words, another energy ball condensed at his fingertips. Just as he was about to launch the energy ball. Swish! Suddenly, like a ghost, a figure appeared behind Cell in an instant. Then, a direct kick was delivered. Boom! Cell had no time to react and was sent flying hundreds of feet away by the force of the kick. His body crashed heavily into a mountain before coming to a halt. What? A look of disbelief appeared on his face. That kick had been incredibly powerful. Also, he couldn't sense any fluctuations in energy. But he had already eliminated all the Earth's fighters who were even slightly stronger. How could there be someone this formidable? With a mix of surprise and curiosity, Cell looked up into the sky. Then, he spotted a familiar figure. With his shiny bald head gleaming in the sunlight. Krillin? Are you kidding me? How could that coward possess such power? Cell was even more astonished upon seeing Krillin appear in midair. After all, Krillin was just an ordinary human warrior. No matter how hard he trained, he could never hope to match a Saiyan. And 8 years ago, this guy had been incredibly weak, his bravery even questionable. How had this coward become so powerful in just 8 years? Although he had been caught off guard earlier, Krillin's kick was certainly not something he could easily brush off. Cell, you bastard. Today, I will most certainly kill you, avenge my friends, and make up for all the mistakes I made in the past. Krillin's eyes were filled with unwavering determination, devoid of any trace of fear. In the end, death was just another possibility. In his opinion, 8 years ago, he should have gone to the afterlife alongside Goku and the others. But that didn't happen, and now, it is time to settle the score with Cell. Oh. I truly didn't expect that in just a couple of years, not only has your strength increased, but so has your courage. How dare you shout so boldly in my presence? I clearly recall how you crawled before me in fear 8 years ago. Cell slowly rose to his feet, casually wiping the scars on his face, before speaking mockingly. Krillin's recent attack had indeed caused him some discomfort. However, such an assault was incapable of inflicting any real damage. You. Stop with the nonsense. Recalling the events from 8 years ago, Krillin became consumed with fury. Indeed, he had been weak and timid back then. Confronted with Cell, who had mercilessly slain all his comrades, Krillin didn't even muster the courage to face him. This feeling had tormented him for 8 long years. Whoosh! With a loud scream, Krillin's body shot forward in the next second. He swung his fist forcefully at Cell. Swish! Punch after punch, unleashing a flurry of attacks. However, it was evident that Cell's strength far surpassed that of Piccolo or any opponent Krillin had faced before. Even as an artificial human, the gap between them remained unbridgeable. With slight movements of his body, Cell effortlessly evaded all of Krillin's assaults. Humph. It seems all you have are sneak attacks. With your power and speed, you still dare to challenge me? Cell crossed his arms over his chest, taunting Krillin relentlessly. Undeniably, this little bald-headed warrior had grown stronger since their last encounter. Had it been Cell's semi-prefect form, perhaps the bald figure standing before him could have posed a threat. But now, the gulf between them was like night and day. Hateful. Is the disparity still this enormous? Krillin clenched his teeth tightly, yet his speed showed no signs of slowing down. Thanks to the modifications Bulma made, Krillin had been transformed into an artificial human with limitless energy. Just like Android 17 and Android 18, he possessed boundless physical capabilities. Swish. 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 Krillin continued to throw punches. His strength and speed pushed to their utmost limits. However, it was clear that the gap was insurmountable, preventing Krillin from landing a single blow on Cell's body. This vast discrepancy in the battle persisted for several minutes. Cell had grown bored with the fight. You stupid fool! Now I'll show you just how vast the gap truly is between us. Furthermore, I'll make sure you understand that no matter what you become, no matter how intense your training, you will never be my equal. Cell's indifferent voice conveyed his disinterest in the match. As soon as the words left his mouth, he seized Krillin's fist in his hand. The moment his fist was gripped, Krillin lost all strength to resist. It was as if massive iron clamps had latched onto him, rendering all attempts to break free futile. In the next instant, Cell forcefully hurled Krillin's body away. Rumble. Accompanied by a deafening roar, 7 or 8 mountain peaks crumbled, reduced to rubble. Boom! Finally, Krillin's body became embedded in a 100-foot-tall mountain peak. A pained expression instantly crossed his face. Although he had been transformed into an artificial human with boundless energy, his body remained inherently human. The only difference was the presence of an energy device providing limitless power within his body. Even with boundless energy, his flesh and blood form was susceptible to pain. Whoosh! Before Krillin could recover, Cell's figure reappeared. He seized Krillin's face and forcefully scraped it against the rugged rock wall. A horrifying gash was carved into the surface of the mountain peak. Wherever he moved, bright red blood stained the surroundings. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 9, Chapter 9 Goten arrived. Chapter 9 Goten arrived. After receiving a powerful blow, Krillin's body was covered in scars. Blood continued to drip from his wounds. However, Cell wasn't ready to let Krillin off so easily. In his opinion, Krillin was a toy that could pique his interest to some extent. It would be a shame to kill him outright. Halting the rubbing motion, Cell delivered a heavy punch to Krillin's abdomen. Wow! A mouthful of blood gushed out from Krillin's mouth, and a massive dent appeared on the mountain behind him. Cracks spread in all directions, with Krillin at the center. Boom! Bang bang! Boom! Several consecutive punches caused blood to continuously spurt from Krillin's mouth. He panicked, his consciousness becoming hazy. Each punch brought piercing pain, and the enormous dent in the rock wall was even more astonishing. Ugh, sorry Goten, I can't hold on anymore. Goku, I still couldn't protect your son. I'm sorry. Krillin felt overwhelming guilt. 8 years ago, he failed to repay a favor. Even with Cell becoming a perfect form, he had a significant responsibility. Unexpectedly, after 8 years, he still couldn't help Goku's son. He couldn't even buy him a little more time. Boom! Rumble! Cell struck again. This time, Mountain Peak shattered directly, and Krillin's body was sent flying, crashing heavily onto the ground hundreds of meters away. I can't get up now. As Den and Mr. Popo observed the scene from the Kami's tower, their expressions turned extremely serious. Witnessing Krillin's torture, they clenched their fists tightly, but they were powerless to intervene. Their strength was simply too weak. Cell could likely wipe them all out with a single breath. Krillin, what a tragedy. If this continues, Lord Dend, Cell will surely kill him, Mr. Popo said with a distressed expression. It seems we have no choice but to release Goten from the hyperbolic time chamber, Dend frowned, firmly making up his mind. Although it hadn't been 2 days yet, Goten should still have approximately a month left to train. However, the situation was dire. If it persisted, Krillin would undoubtedly be killed. They were the last remaining fighters on Earth, and they couldn't afford any mistakes. Perhaps if the two of them joined forces, there was hope of defeating Cell. Having made his decision, Dend walked directly into the hyperbolic time chamber. At that moment, Goten was still training fervently. For nearly 2 years, he hadn't trained in Super Saiyan form. For Saiyans, honing their fundamental combat power was paramount. In the past 2 years of rigorous training, he had made considerable progress. His basic combat power had increased several times over. Creak! The door to the hyperbolic time chamber swung open. Goten ceased his practice and turned his gaze toward the door. Dend entered with a grave expression. What's wrong? Dend, has something happened? Goten inquired, discerning from Dend's expression that something significant had occurred. It was likely that Cell had returned. However, the hyperbolic time chamber was a separate space, and he couldn't sense anything outside of it. Goten, Cell is back. Krillin was fighting him, but he couldn't hold on any longer. Although I know I shouldn't bother you, there's nothing I can do now. Maybe only you can stop Cell. Den's face remained solemn as he nodded and replied. If even Goten couldn't match Cell's strength, then Earth was truly without hope. Is that so? Goten asked. I'm almost finished with my training, he continued. Just get me to known place of Cell. Excitement sparkled in his eyes as he clenched his fist. For the past 2 years, Goten had been training alone without a formidable opponent. Truth be told, for a Saiyan with the blood of a warrior race, this kind of life was incredibly dull. Nevertheless, his basic combat power had made significant qualitative improvements during those years. It made him believe that even without reaching Super Saiyan 2, he could still defeat Cell. The timing was perfect, allowing him to fully unleash his abilities. Let me help you replenish your stamina. Dend hurried over and placed his palm against Goten's chest. A gentle energy instantly surged throughout his body, rapidly revitalizing his physical strength. Even his tattered combat uniform appeared brand new. This was the special ability of the Namekian people. Thanks, Dend. Goten expressed his gratitude before leaving the hyperbolic time chamber. He jumped into the air, transforming into a golden lightning bolt, disappearing from Dend and Mr. Popo's sight. Meanwhile, Krillin had been brutalized to the point where he was unrecognizable. Cell pressed his foot firmly against Krillin's completely shattered chest. Both of Krillin's eyes were starting to blur, and his breathing had become incredibly weak. It was evident that he would soon succumb to his injuries. How boring, Cell muttered. I've lost all interest in you. It's time for you to go to hell, Krillin. You should be grateful that you'll be reunited with your old friends. A sadistic sneer appeared on Cell's face, and a purple light began to emit from his hand, aimed directly at Krillin's chest. Just as the purple energy was about to be unleashed. Suddenly, Cell sensed an immensely powerful force rapidly approaching him. What is this? Whose aura is this? Cell's expression changed once again. Apart from Krillin, was there such a formidable aura on Earth? This energy was even stronger than that of Piccolo or Vegeta. Whoosh! In the midst of Cell's surprise, an afterimage materialized from the right. Boom! Cell's face was struck hard once again, sending him sliding across the ground. Goten! Goten! A faint smile slowly appeared on Krillin's face, but his pupils were dilated, his speed sluggish. Mr. Krillin, have a senzu bean. Goten landed softly on the ground and fed Krillin one of the beans. Then, he stood up, locking his eyes on Cell. Cell swiftly got back on his feet, wiping his cheek with his right thumb. This attack had hurt even more than before. However, as Cell turned his head and saw that familiar face, he was astonished. What is this? Son? Goku? No. Could this be Goku's son? Cell looked at Goten in disbelief. The resemblance was uncanny, with their hairstyles being almost identical, like a copy and paste job. The only difference was that this kid was just a child. The only possibility was that this brat standing before him was Goku's son. I've been waiting for you, Cell, Goten said calmly, locking eyes with Cell and speaking with a light tone. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 10, Chapter 10 Super Saiyan Goten vs Super Cell. Chapter 10. You brat, you should be Goku's youngest son. Cell stood up and brushed off the dust from his body. Then he looked at Goten and asked, Actually, I have a question for you. Judging by your appearance, you must be Goku's son. You look exactly like him. Goten calmly replied to Cell, You don't need to know who I am, Cell. All you need to know is that you will die by my hands today. Cell is finished today anyway. Even if I manages to use Ultra Instinct for 0.1 seconds, he'll be wiped out instantly. Ha! Your arrogant attitude seems quite different from your father and Gohan. But let me make it clear to you, your fate will be the same as theirs. Cell's expression changed. He didn't expect this brat in front of him to be even more arrogant than Goku and the others. This guy's arrogance even rivals Vegeta's. Is that so? Goten's tone remained flat. This game holds no suspense, and Cell is no match for him. Goten, don't underestimate the enemy. This guy is very powerful. Much stronger than he was 8 years ago. Gohan couldn't defeat him, even when he achieved Super Saiyan 2 back then. His strength is unfathomable now, Krillin, who had just healed himself with the senzu beans, warned Goten. I see. Goten turned around and nodded slightly. You want to see my skills? Then watch closely, kid. Soon, I'll send you to your father and brother. A bloodthirsty smile formed on the corner of Cell's mouth. In the next second, his body rushed directly towards Goten, leaving only an afterimage behind due to his incredible speed. Even the fast Krillin couldn't keep up with the movement. If Cell had used this speed just now, he could have killed Krillin instantly. Whoosh! The sound of air being shattered filled the air as Cell's fist came crashing towards Goten. Goten remained unfazed. He clenched his fists tightly and chose to confront Cell head-on. Boom! Rumble! The collision of their fists caused the ground to tremble. A mushroom cloud rose into the sky, accompanied by a large sinkhole. Swish! Goten and Cell both staggered back several tens of feet before landing firmly on the ground. Wow! That was amazing! Is this the result of Goten's training? Even without transforming into a Super Saiyan, he could take a punch from Cell. Krillin's eyes widened in disbelief, resembling copper bells. Cell's punch just now could have easily killed him. But Goten chose to confront Cell head-on without transforming into a Super Saiyan. And it seemed that he didn't suffer any harm. Then he thought to himself, Goten is too scary. He will definitely surpass Goku and Gohan when he grows up. However, Goten was well aware that Cell hadn't shown his true strength in their fight. The punch earlier was just a test. Cell had a perfect form now but hadn't utilized the power of Super Saiyan. So, catching his attack wasn't something to be proud of. Interesting, Cell said. It's Goku's son who possesses such great power. But I only used less than 1% of my strength just now, and the real fun is about to begin. Excitement gleamed in Cell's eyes. Finally, he had encountered an opponent who could give his a decent fight. Aha! In the next moment, Cell clenched his fists, and golden ki erupted from his body. It was clear that he had tapped into the power of Super Saiyan, a transformation he could achieve due to possessing Goku and Vegeta's cells. The sight of the golden flames like keys surrounding Cell's body prompted Goten to also clench his fists and instantly transform into the full power form of Super Saiyan. If he wanted to fight Cell as he currently was, he had to assume the Super Saiyan form. Even then, he was likely no match for. The strength can be compared to Goku's back then. Cell was once again shocked. There was no such brat in front of her 8 years ago, meaning he was at most 8 years old at that time. To possess the peak power of Goku at such a young age was truly terrifying. However, it was unfortunate that the current Cell was no longer the same as before. Even with strength surpassing that of Gohan, he was no match for him. Just to add some flavor to your boring life, Goten said without wasting time. His body flashed, and he instantly appeared behind Cell. Then he jumped up, clasped his hands, and smashed them towards the back of Cell's head. Swish! But his attack went straight through Cell's body. It was clearly just an afterimage. Goten wasn't surprised, though. It would be strange if Cell could be hit so easily when he was on guard. Swish! In the next moment, Cell's body descended from the sky, sweeping directly towards Goten. The attack, too, pierced through Goten's body. It was another afterimage. You little brat, quite fast, isn't it? Cell taunted. This is the battle I've been waiting for a long time, he grinned, filled with extreme excitement. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 11 Endgame. Chapter 11 Endgame. In the past 8 years, he has also visited countless planets. However, he hadn't encountered an opponent worthy of his full-on fight. Not even on the level of Goku and Gohan. Unexpectedly, returning to Earth this time would allow him to experience that exhilarating excitement once again. Whoosh, whoosh. Their bodies intertwined continuously, resembling two beams of golden light colliding. Bang, bang, bang. Successive sonic boom circles appeared in the sky, leaving deep craters on the ground. Wow, that's incredible. It's unbelievable. How did Goten train? At his age, reaching this level is actually possible. Krillin was completely astonished. Precisely at this moment, he couldn't perceive the speed of the two clearly. But one thing was certain, the current Goten possessed strength no weaker than Goku's. Perhaps in this battle, Goten had a chance to win. Come on, Goten. The fate of the Earth is now entrusted to you. Krillin could only cheer for Goten in his heart. In this momentous duel, he was utterly powerless. Even though he had transformed into an artificial human, he already surpassed the original Android 16 in strength. However, in the face of the Super Saiyan Cell, he was simply defenseless. Minutes and seconds passed by. The battle between Goten and Cell escalated into a fierce stage. They initially relied on speed to evade attacks, but now they were engaged in close combat. Bang, bang, bang. Their fists collided incessantly, with fists, elbows, and knees turning into sharp weapons of attack. As the battle continued, both of them acquired varying degrees of scars. Boom! Rumble! Another forceful collision shook the entire Earth violently. Goten and Cell were pushed several hundred feet away. Thump, thump. Goten's body landed to the ground, and he took several steps back. Distinct footprints marked the hard ground, finally halting his motion. By now, his combat uniform was torn, and there was a bloodstain on the corner of his mouth. Cell fared no better, bearing several scratches on his body. Evidently, Goten's attacks were not entirely ineffective against him. "Goten, are you all right?" Krillin asked, filled with concern. "I'm fine," Goten replied, shaking his head. Cell's strength is indeed ridiculously formidable. Even without transforming into his super perfect cell form aka Super Saiyan 2 Cell, his power is already terrifying. If this guy were to go all out, dealing with him might require Ultra Instinct sign. "You're impressive, kid. You're the first opponent to make me feel pain since Gohan," Cell said, wiping the purple blood from the corner of his mouth, excitement still gleaming in his eyes. He hadn't experienced such an exhilarating battle in 8 years. Tisk. Goten tightly clenched his fist. Ha ha. With a roar, he began to increase his aura once again. Golden flames like ki erupted from his body instantaneously. At that moment, Goten's hair and body emanated a golden halo with small-time electrical discharge aura surrounding the body. He was now on the verge of achieving the power of Super Saiyan 2, just one step away. But it's a difficult step to take. Ha ha! Cell also roared, and a golden purple halo with small-time electrical discharge aura surrounding the body instantly emanated from his body. At this moment, the aura of both of them once again reached a level of perfect balance. Whizzing! Without much ado, they rushed towards each other once more. Boom! Cell landed a powerful punch on Goten's jaw. As his body flew upside down, Goten's knee struck Cell's chin with great force. Both their bodies were sent flying upside down again. Whoosh, whoosh. Bang, bang, bang. Krillin couldn't clearly perceive the movements and figures of the two, not even their afterimages. This intense hand-to-hand combat lasted for 5 minutes. Goten was covered in bruises. Boom! There was another muffled sound. Cell kicked Goten directly, sending his body flying. After all, there is still a considerable gap in strength between the two. Rumble! A huge crater was smashed into the ground. Goten! Krillin's expression changed. It seems that despite having the same strength as Goku did 8 years ago, Goten is still no match for Cell. Damn bastard! I will never forgive you. Krillin stared at Cell with anger. Even if he dies today, he must die before Goten. Perhaps in the afterlife, he can explain everything to Goku and ask for forgiveness. Ha, ha. As the angry scream subsided, Krillin clasped his hands together, gathering energy for the Kamehameha wave. The blue energy was so powerful that even the air around it compressed, producing strange sounds. Then it was unleashed directly towards Cell. You fool, that kind of trick won't work on me. Cell glanced dismissively at Krillin. The Kamehameha wave was simply ignored. With a swift motion, Cell deflected the Kamehameha wave, causing it to veer away from the earth. In fact, Krillin's strength at this point was already impressive, but compared to Cell, the gap was still too significant. Whoosh! After easily evading the Kamehameha wave, Cell's body appeared in front of Krillin like a lighting. Then, with an uppercut, he struck Krillin's lower abdomen heavily. Boom! A gush of blood spewed from Krillin's mouth once again. Krillin knelt on the ground, clutching his abdomen, and continued to vomit uncontrollably. Clearly, he was in great pain at that moment. Fools who are overconfident, I've lost interest in you. Now, I'll reunite you with Goku and the others. Cell's cold voice echoed as the mocking expression vanished from his face. That concludes today's game. Krillin and that brat have completely lost the ability to fight. It's time to bring this tedious game to an end. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 12 Super Saiyan 2 Goten. Chapter 12 Super Saiyan 2. While speaking, a purple energy ball condensed from Cell's palm, taking aim directly at Krillin's body. This energy ball had the potential to kill Krillin, who had lost his fighting power. After all, humans are composed of flesh and blood. Though Bulma had transformed him, he could still be considered an artificial human in name. However, due to time constraints, it was merely a wireless energy device implanted in Krillin's body, with no modifications made to his physical form. Goten. Live. You are the hope of the earth, you must survive. Krillin could sense that his life was nearing its end. When Cell's energy ball descended, it would mark the end of his existence. With a firm tone, he raised his head and glanced at Goten, who stood up with despairing eyes. Don't daydream, Baldy. None of you will survive today, and I will completely destroy this earth. From this moment on, vanish forever in this universe. Cell said with a disdainful expression. In this universe, no one could stop him anymore. Then, the energy ball was unleashed. Krillin. Goten roared. Despite his serious injuries, he rushed towards Krillin like an arrow released from a bowstring. Since arriving in the world of Dragon Ball, Goten had only encountered a few people. Besides his mother, Chi-Chi, next one he had the strongest bond with was Krillin, who had spent a whole year with him in the hyperbolic time chamber. He couldn't bear to let Krillin die like this. Boom! The energy ball exploded instantly, creating a massive crater with a diameter of 100 feet in the ground. Goten and Krillin were thrown back by the blast. TCH. Intense pain surged through Goten's body. At this moment, Krillin had completely lost consciousness. Cut. Is it human hypocrisy again? What I detest the most is your hypocrisy. Filthy brat, it's all over. Unexpectedly, that brat took the initiative to shield the majority of the attacks for the Baldy. This further infuriated Cell. He jumped up and extended his index finger, from which a golden energy instantly condensed. It rapidly expanded, resembling the planet-destroying bomb previously employed by Frieza. Cell was 100% certain that this energy ball could not only annihilate the brat and Krillin completely but also erase the entire Earth from the universe. It's all over. Pest, Baldy, bid farewell to this world. Ha ha ha. Amidst maniacal laughter, the planet-destroying bomb fell directly towards Goten and Krillin. Damn! Should I use Ultra Instinct? While it could annihilate Cell instantly, I might not be able to utilize this opportunity to achieve Super Saiyan 2. Observing the rapidly descending planet-destroying bomb, Goten found himself troubled. He had the ability to use Ultra Instinct at any moment, and with it, he could easily defeat Cell within seconds. However, he desired to break through to the Super Saiyan 2 form during his battle with Cell. To break through a Saiyan's limits, one requires boundless emotion and a sense of impending doom. Right now, it was a prime opportunity. If this opportunity was missed, there was no telling how long one would have to wait. Just as Goten was wrestling with his decision, the energy ball was already less than 10 meters away from the ground. The tremendous pressure turned the surrounding mountain debris into dust, causing the ground to rapidly crack and collapse. A hurricane blew, dust filled the air, and it resembled a scene from the apocalypse. Bring it on! Feeling the overwhelming pressure, Goten gritted his teeth and braced himself, attempting to directly withstand the energy ball with both hands. However, his severely injured body proved incapable of halting the planet-destroying bomb. Rumble! The bomb plummeted swiftly, causing the ground to crumble continuously. The entire Earth shook violently. Cell crossed his arms over his chest, anticipating the explosion of the planet. The planet's demise would be akin to a magnificent fireworks display in the universe, a sight of great beauty. As the terrifying shockwaves rippled through the Earth, its inhabitants sensed the impending end. Fear gripped everyone, shaking them to their core. Many media outlets and reporters sought out Satan at his villa, hoping he could resolve the crisis. However, after witnessing the power of the monster cell 8 years ago, the current Satan was paralyzed with fear. His fame and life were caught in a dilemma. On the battlefield, a massive abyss appeared, swallowing up Goten and Krillin's bodies completely. Rumble! Suddenly, the ground shook even more violently. The clouds in the sky began to swirl rapidly. What? What's happening? That kid's aura is getting stronger. Are you kidding? How is this possible? At that moment, Cell also felt something was amiss. Goten's weakened presence from before was now growing exponentially, and this growth was astonishing. Rumble! Crackling noises filled the air as the ground displayed wisps of blue arcs. These electric currents spread rapidly, visible to the naked eye, creating an unsettling atmosphere. A momentary sense of unease lingered in Cell's heart. It seemed that something dire was about to occur. Just as Cell was shocked and disturbed, a dazzling golden light shone from the dark abyss in the ground. Astonishingly, the massive planet-destroying bomb began to ascend. Rustle! Crackling lightning and rustling flames accompanied the bomb's movement. Under Cell's bewildered gaze, Goten lifted the planet-destroying bomb with one hand while cradling the unconscious Krillin with the other. At that moment, Goten underwent a tremendous transformation. His blonde hair stood on end, his eyes became narrow and elongated, exuding an air of indifference and aloofness. Moreover, golden flames like ki gushed around his body like jets, accompanied by blue electric arcs. In this moment, Goten had finally achieved the form of Super Saiyan 2. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 13, Chapter 13 Next Insta-Kill. Chapter 13 Next Insta-Kill. But... damn! This appearance. Exactly the same as Gohan 8 years ago. Did this guy utilize the pressure I exerted on him to surpass his limits? Cell's expression instantly turned gloomy. Originally, he believed that the kid in front of him was just a toy, he was even prepared to annihilate this Earth completely. However, he never expected that at this moment, this wretched kid would actually break through his own limit. Perhaps his current strength is on par with that of Gohan back then. But surprises aside, even so, he is absolutely no match for him. He defeated Gohan 8 years ago, and he can defeat this brat now. Moreover, in the past 8 years, even with minimal training, his strength has improved. At this moment, Krillin also regained consciousness. He blinked his eyes in a daze, only to witness the state of Goten in front of him. Blue electric arcs flickered around his body. This form was all too familiar to him. Gohan had attained this form before and nearly eradicated Cell completely. This is incredible. Goten, you have finally surpassed your limits. In this moment, Krillin felt extremely weak, yet also immensely thrilled. He had already resigned himself to death, but he never expected Goten to save him. And now, Goten has broken through his own limits. Perhaps this is both a blessing and a curse. Mr. Krillin, you should rest now. This battle will be over soon. Goten's tone was very indifferent. After speaking, he pushed Krillin's body aside and gently placed it on the ground. Then, he turned his disinterested gaze towards Cell. You insolent brat, do you believe that breaking through your limits and reaching this form qualifies you to be my opponent? Let me tell you, your older brother Gohan also achieved this form, only to meet his demise at my hands. And of course, you will be no exception. Despite a momentary surprise, Cell remained confident. If it were 8 years ago, this form would indeed pose a threat to him. And 8 years ago, he managed to kill Gohan entirely because of Vegeta's reckless behavior. Gohan broke an arm while attempting to save Vegeta. Without that, Cell wouldn't have dispatched Gohan so easily. But now, things are completely different. Over these 8 years, even without rigorous training, his strength has surpassed that of 8 years ago. It is more than enough to defeat this wretched brat who just surpassed his limits. Is that so? Don't be too overconfident, Cell. I've said it before, you are destined to perish by my hands. Goten's tone was as icy as his gaze. As soon as the words left his mouth, his body vanished like a ghost. Only an afterimage remained at the spot, while his physical form already stood before Cell. A powerful uppercut was thrown with immense force. Boom! Before Cell could react, an excruciating pain surged from his abdomen. Splurt! Purple blood spewed out from his mouth as his body was sent flying backward. Clutching his agonized abdomen, he stared at Goten in disbelief. This wretched brat has only just surpassed this form, yet the power he possesses seems to exceed that of Gohan 8 years ago. But... damn! How is this possible? This wretched brat is stronger than Gohan was back then. Cell tightly clutched his stomach, his face filled with utter disbelief. And this guy is too decisive. Without giving him any time to breathe or transform, Goten launched a direct attack. Whoosh! Without hesitation, Goten's body burst forward once again. Performing a 360-degree turn, he delivered a powerful roundhouse kick to Cell's neck. Rumble! Cell's body crashed heavily into the ground, creating a massive sinkhole. Ha, ha! Without a moment's pause, Goten unleashed countless energy waves from both hands. Boom, boom, boom! Rumble! The enormous crater on the ground continued to expand, and mushroom clouds rose high into the sky like towering trees. Goten knew well that such an attack wouldn't be enough to kill Cell outright, even though he had achieved the form of Super Saiyan 2. It was still challenging to completely eliminate Cell. However, he had accomplished his goal. He hadn't used Ultra Instinct before. His primary objective was to utilize the pressure and imminent danger posed by Cell to break through his own limits and attain Super Saiyan 2. Now he had become Super Saiyan 2, just as he had desired. Consequently, Cell had lost his purpose and no longer needed to exist. Rumble! As expected, Cell soon began trembling once again. Blue lightning continued to flicker relentlessly. Ha ha! Accompanied by Cell's piercing roar, the ground started rapidly cracking, with the fractures spreading like spider webs in all directions. Whoosh! Cell's body emerged from the ground and leaped up. At this point, he had clearly unleashed his full strength. Jet-like key flames surged all over his body, accompanied by blue electric arcs. Undoubtedly, this was Super Perfect Cell's form. It could also be called the Super Saiyan 2 form, considering that this individual possessed Saiyan blood. Insolent brat! It has been years since someone made me feel such excruciating pain. You have truly surprised me, and in turn, completely ignited my rage. Next, I will let you experience a fear even more terrifying than hell. Cell clenched his fists, and the golden key flames around his body intensified. The blue lightning flashed like tiny snakes within the golden aura. In an instant, his entire being emitted an unimaginably terrifying aura. Is that so? Don't be so self-righteous, Cell. I admit that your physical power is formidable, to the point where even in my form, defeating you is challenging. But I'm sorry, my purpose of fighting you has been fulfilled, so I won't waste any more time on you. Next, I will erase you completely, in an instant. Goten's tone was extremely calm. After his words faded, he unexpectedly reverted back to his normal form, exiting the Super Saiyan 2 state. Both Cell and Krillin on the opposite side looked bewildered and perplexed. They couldn't comprehend Goten's actions at all. Defeating Cell seemed only possible in the Super Saiyan 2 form. Yet now, he had returned to his normal state. What was this guy attempting to do? Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 14 Ultra Instinct. Chapter 14 Ultra Instinct Sign. Cell was directly provoked by Goten's actions, causing me to look at Goten in disbelief. In his mind, he pondered, could this kid be using some strategy after all? Or perhaps he was so overwhelmed by the intensity of his aura that he lost his hope and done fighting to accept defeat. The form he just exhibited was the only one that had a chance to defeat Cell. Yet, he abruptly exited that form. It's a completely foolish behavior. Wahahaha. After being momentarily stunned, Cell suddenly burst into uncontrollable laughter. The brat in front of him possessed incredible talent, but his arrogance surpassed both Goku and Gohan. Even after relinquishing the Super Saiyan 2 transformation, he attempted to vanquish Cell in a flash. It's simply unbelievable. I can't fathom how Goku fathered such a dim-witted son. Goten, don't be careless. Hurry and return to the previous form. Only then will you have a chance to defeat Cell. Krillin, who was standing nearby, supported his weakened body and hastily advised Goten. Under normal circumstances, Cell could obliterate Goten in an instant. Goten paid no attention to Cell's laughter or Krillin's warning. He no longer wished to partake in this tedious game. He desired to eliminate Cell as quickly as possible. You insolent brat, I've lost interest in this game. Since you're so eager to seek death, I'll oblige, Cell declared. Cell had no intentions of continuing his game with Goten. For some reason, an unsettling feeling began to linger in his heart. Perhaps playing for too long could lead to unexpected consequences. Similar to when he confronted Gohan, he almost met his demise. Whoosh! The moment Cell's voice trailed off, he lunged directly at Goten and delivered a powerful punch. This time, he held nothing back and unleashed his full strength. His speed escalated to the utmost limit. Even in his Super Saiyan 2 form, Goten couldn't withstand this attack. Furthermore, since he had abandoned the Super Saiyan transformation, he seemed to be seeking death. It's over. Krillin's heart sank in disappointment. He couldn't comprehend why Goten would act this way. Clearly, he had surpassed the limits of Super Saiyan 2 and attained the same level as Gohan. So why did he suddenly cease his resistance? Under these circumstances, the Earth was utterly hopeless. Die! Ha ha ha! Cell bellowed and laughed maniacally. With the demise of the insolent brat before him, no one in the world could challenge him anymore. Just as Cell's fist was about 3 meters away from Goten, something unexpected happened. Goten shut his eyes and shifted his body a mere 10 centimeters, narrowly evading the incoming punch. Simultaneously, silver lines emanated from his body. What? No. Impossible. How could this insolent brat dodge my attack? He clearly wasn't using the Super Saiyan form. The shock of missing his attack completely drained the color from Cell's body. Even as a Super Saiyan, the brat shouldn't have been able to evade his assault. Yet now, he managed to dodge it with his eyes closed. This made Cell question his very existence. Swish! Almost simultaneously, Goten's eyes suddenly opened, revealing a silver crescent shining in his pupils. Immediately afterward, silver flame-like light radiated from his body, causing the temperature in the surrounding space to rapidly increase. Simultaneously, the silver flame-like light formed a beam that pierced through the sky and soared upward. What is happening? Could this be a higher level of Saiyan transformation? No, it's impossible. How could this insolent brat comprehend a higher level of Saiyan transformation? Cell took a few steps back in fright, feeling an overwhelming sense of oppression deep within his heart. His acute senses made him aware of Goten's immense danger. Perhaps, as Goten claimed earlier, he possessed the power to eliminate Cell in an instant. What is this, silver light? Is it another Saiyan transformation? Krillin, on the side, was also completely bewildered. He had never witnessed such a phenomenon before. All of the Saiyan transformations he had seen had golden auras surrounding the transformed individual. But now, the hazy sky was engulfed in silver flames like ki. And I can't sense Goten's ki at all. What exactly is happening? Furthermore, Krillin noticed that Goten's energy had completely vanished. He couldn't sense it in the slightest. It was as if Goten had transformed into a cyborg, rendering his spiritual energy undetectable. It was all too bizarre. Just as Cell panicked and Krillin stood in shock, the silver beam of light gradually began to dissipate, revealing Goten's figure before the two of them once again. Even then, his body remained enveloped in a silver aura. His pupils were silver, his jet-black hair motionless and flowing, giving him an ethereal appearance. Yes, this was Ultra Instinct sign. Goten intended to swiftly eliminate Cell. In this moment, Goten's eyes exuded extreme calmness, yet it sent shivers down one's spine. He seemed like a god perched on high, commanding awe. Cell's heart was instantly consumed by boundless fear. For some reason, he felt as though death had closed in on him. But, damn it! Why does it feel like I'm facing a monster? I refuse to believe in such a monstrous thing. Cell gritted his teeth tightly, convinced that this was merely an illusion, a deception. As long as he didn't succumb to fear, this illusion would have no effect on him. Aha! With a roar, Cell suppressed the fear welling up inside him and charged directly at Goten. However, just as his body lunged forward, Goten's fist had already firmly struck his chest. The punch pierced through his chest, leaving behind a gaping, bloody hole. It's over, Cell. After Goten's chillingly indifferent voice echoed, his palm was aimed directly at Cell's chest. An energy wave erupted from his palm, engulfing Cell's body in an instant. Like a candle in the wind, Cell vanished without a trace. Bang! Dang! Cell's head tumbled to the ground. His eyes were wide open, filled with horror and disbelief. Yet, his life force rapidly faded away. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 15, Chapter 15 The Savior Satan. Chapter 15 The Savior Satan is here. sh. Cell was actually taken care of? At this moment, Krillin, lying on the side, was at a loss for words to describe the shock and excitement in his heart. He initially thought that Goten had simply abandoned his Super Saiyan form after sensing Cell's strength and chose to give up. Unexpectedly, not only did he transform into a more powerful form, but Cell was instantly killed. This cheeky kid had such incredible strength all along, but he never used it. It kept me on edge all the time. After recovering from the shock, Krillin added with a helpless smile. However, his tone was filled with joy and relief. If Goten had revealed his strength from the beginning, Cell would have been defeated long ago. Ding! Congratulations to the host for acquiring Cell's cells and gaining 100 million in basic combat power. At that moment, the synthesized voice of the system quickly rang in his mind. Goten wasn't too surprised by this revelation either. Given Cell's overwhelmingly strong power, the conclusion was now evident. Fighting against stronger opponents would yield greater combat power. As for Cell's cells, they didn't have much effect, actually. Cell was a hybrid, created from the genes of many Earth warriors. Although he appeared to possess a variety of techniques, they didn't play a significant role in battle. The only useful aspect might be Piccolo's regenerative ability. However, when compared to Majin Buu's regeneration, Cell's ability paled in comparison. Shortly after, Goten exited the Ultra Instinct mode. Because it placed a considerable strain on his body. He couldn't sustain it for too long at the moment. Upon leaving Ultra Instinct form, a tingling sensation coursed through his body instantly. He swiftly took out a Senzu bean and consumed it. However, at that moment, the sound of a helicopter's roar suddenly filled the sky. Hum rumble. Soon, a helicopter appeared within Goten's sight, bearing the name of a well-known television station. Goten paid no attention to these individuals and immediately helped Krillin to his feet. He then handed the last Senzu bean to Krillin. Krillin's injuries also quickly healed. Krillin gazed at Goten with a mix of horror and excitement, asking, "Goten, what happened to your appearance just now? Was it another Saiyan transformation?" "It was incredible. You annihilated Supercell in an instant." Amidst the horror and excitement, there was also a hint of admiration. Goten's recent display was extremely cool and awe-inspiring, as if a deity had descended. "No, it's a state. However, I haven't fully mastered this state. It was imperfect and incredibly draining. So, it's generally not suitable for use." Goten shook his head, then explained. Upon hearing Goten's explanation, Krillin was even more astonished. Goten had independently developed such an immense power without any guidance. This level of talent truly surpassed Goku and Gohan. Those despicable guys are at it again. Krillin glanced at the helicopter above with a look of disgust. These individuals knew how to grovel to that Mr. Fool aka Mr. Satan every single day. Now, they were back to join in the spectacle once more. By this time, the helicopter had landed. Everyone aboard the helicopter was immensely shocked upon witnessing the astounding scene before them. What kind of battle could cause such destruction to this place? No wonder the earth shook so violently just moments ago. A few minutes later, 5 or 6 individuals disembarked from the helicopter. Among them was a very familiar figure. He had a large beard, his iconic curly hair, and appeared extremely unkempt. Dressed in his own battle robe, with a golden belt around his waist. Surprisingly, this person was the world-renowned Mr. Satan. He was also the so-called savior of this world. According to the previous news, after the blonde delinquent youth and the sidekick boys were defeated 8 years ago, Cell had planned to destroy the Earth. It was Mr. Satan who frightened Cell away. Of course, that was the story Mr. Satan himself had told the media. Thus, he had rightfully become the Earth's savior. Where is Cell? Where is Cell? As soon as he stepped off the helicopter, Mr. Satan looked around for Cell, appearing calm but was truly panicked inside. "Mr. Satan, look, there are 2 individuals over there. They look very familiar." "Oh, I remember now. I saw them 8 years ago when I was fighting Cell. The photographer pointed towards Krillin and Goten with surprise. Weren't those guys killed by Cell? Why were they here now? When Satan saw Krillin and Goten, his entire body turned pale with fear. Because those people from 8 years ago knew exactly what had transpired. If they revealed everything that happened back then, he would lose his title as the savior. Oops. My stomach. I can't hold it in. Suddenly, I'm experiencing stomach pain. It hurts, it hurts. No, I really have to go. The movie King Satan quickly came up with an excuse. This trick was a tried and tested method in emergencies. Mr. Satan, we were concerned that you might experience stomach trouble, so we have already prepared a restroom for you. The accompanying staff by his side immediately smiled and reassured him. They had long gotten used to Mr. Satan's stomach troubles whenever something important was happening. That's why they made special arrangements this time. Ah! Satan was left dumbfounded and suddenly realized he had been fooled by these individuals. In the end, he had no choice but to reluctantly approach Goten and Krillin. TSK. It's that shameless guy again. Last time, he took credit for Goku and Gohan's achievements and portrayed himself as the savior. And now he's going to bask in it once more? By the way, it's quite lucky he wasn't killed in the previous battle. Krillin looked at Satan approaching with disgust, speaking in a low voice. Although Goku and the others didn't care about such things at all, Krillin felt a deep anger. Goten raised an eyebrow slightly. While Satan was a lively and amusing character in Dragon Ball, it was repulsive to take credit for the sacrifices made by others. While watching Dragon Ball Z, Goten didn't particularly like the character of Satan. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 16, Chapter 16 Warning the Satan. Chapter 16 Warning the Satan. Looking into the unkind eyes of Goten and Krillin, Mr. Satan felt a sudden surge of cold sweat. After all, 8 years ago, he had stolen the glory that rightfully belonged to these individuals standing before him. Despite having an incredibly thick skin, he still felt a twinge of shame. But, more than anything, he felt fear and trepidation. For he knew better than anyone the sheer horror these individuals were capable of. While he had always maintained, in front of others, that they relied on deception, deep down, he knew it was impossible to generate such destructive power through mere trickery. Only fools would believe their own nonsense. Just as Mr. Satan stood bewildered, unsure of how to greet Goten and Krillin, his gaze shifted and caught sight of Cell's severed head. In an instant, his shock transformed into ecstasy. With Cell eliminated, he no longer had to face monsters like him. He wouldn't be killed. This was undoubtedly fantastic news for him. Cell, defeated? Is it really Cell? Mr. Satan stared at Cell's decapitated head on the ground, his excitement reaching its peak. Without hesitation, he beckoned to the nearby reporters and photographers. Shouting, "Everyone, come here! Cell has been killed." Upon hearing these words, several photographers and hosts hurried over. What's happening? Mr. Satan hasn't even lifted a finger, how was Cell defeated? Who did it? Could it be these two individuals standing in front of me? Both the host and cameraman were left dumbfounded. The same feeling encompassed everyone watching the television. Wow, haha. Just as everyone was bewildered and puzzled, Mr. Satan's powerful laughter, filled with enchantment, echoed through the air. Needless to say, it's all thanks to my heroic efforts. This fellow must have learned of my impending arrival to deal with him, so he was scared witless and chose to end his own life. With these words, the host, cameraman, and even 99.99% of the TV audience were instantly fooled. In an instant, the entire planet erupted in celebration and jubilation. The name they chanted was none other than Mr. Satan's. This guy is shameless to the core. Someone wants to take all the credit for themselves. Goten, you can't indulge him any longer. I've grown weary of this man. Krillin furrowed his brow and spoke to Goten. 8 years ago, this man had displayed such shamelessness. And now, he was resorting to the same old tricks. Goku and Gohan were magnanimous and forgiving, choosing not to concern themselves with such matters. But Krillin remained deeply dissatisfied. After all, that hard-fought peace had been exchanged for with the lives of Goku and Gohan. And now, this scoundrel had become the savior. Goten approached Mr. Satan, step by step. At that moment, Mr. Satan was drenched in sweat, fear overtaking him as he instinctively backed away. Though the child before him bore a striking resemblance to the young Goku and Gohan from 8 years ago, the look in the boy's eyes was entirely different. It seemed as though he had kicked a steel plate this time. As Goten stood face to face with Mr. Satan, the latter collapsed to the ground in fright. Mr. Satan, I couldn't care less about your past shameless deeds, as they have nothing to do with me. But your actions today have deeply disgusted me. If you think you can take away the glory for which I, Krillin and many others sacrificed our life for, you're sorely mistaken, even if I don't care about such things. Goten's face was cold, his tone even colder. Satan couldn't help but feel as though he was surrounded by an aura of death, a chilling key that threatened to end his life at any moment. The cold stare from Goten was truly terrifying. Then, Goten turned his head, looked into the camera, and said, "And you idiots, take a good look. Is a coward like him really qualified to defeat Cell? Think about it, you pea-brains. How could the destructive power unleashed in the battles of 8 years ago and today be a mere facade?" After his indifferent remark, Goten approached Cell's head. Lifting his foot, he mercilessly stomped on the remains, crushing them into pieces. This sight left everyone present, including those watching on TV, in shock. As for Satan, he was nearly scared out of his wits. Goten glanced at the trembling Satan and continued, "If you continue your shameless behavior, you will be the next example, like him." With that said, he paid no attention to the thoroughly frightened Satan. Turning around, Goten leaped into the air and vanished in an instant. Krillin hurriedly followed suit. After leading the two away, Satan wiped the sweat from his forehead. It felt as if he had walked through the gates of hell just now. The gaze of that boy was truly terrifying. It seemed that the title of savior had nothing to do with him anymore. By this time, Goten and Krillin had returned to Capsule Corporation. "Goten, what you said just now was so satisfying. It was pure joy to see that Satan guy looking so scared." Krillin spoke to Goten with a satisfied expression. He lacked the pure selfless kindness of Goku and Gohan. So it infuriated him to watch helplessly as the honor they had fought hard to regain was snatched away by that man. Clearly, Goten felt the same way. "Goten, you were so cool and badass just now. That guy Satan has been shameless for 8 years, and now he probably won't be able to pretend anymore." At that moment, Bulma emerged from the laboratory, also expressing her relief. Every time she saw that man's audacious interviews on TV, where he boasted of his heroic deeds in defeating Cell and even selling commemorative videos, it made her furious. She had also witnessed Goten's confrontation with Satan through live TV just now. She couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. "Ha ha." Goten awkwardly smiled. In truth, he didn't find Satan's role all that bothersome. After all, Satan was just an ordinary person, not worthy of taking to heart. But his behavior was undeniably shameless, so it was necessary to give him a warning. "Oh, by the way, Mr. Krillin. Since we met, I can't sense your aura at all. Did you turn yourself into an android or something?" Goten didn't want to dwell on the topic of Satan any longer, so he changed the subject. He was genuinely curious about this matter. Ever since he emerged from the hyperbolic time chamber, he couldn't sense Krillin's presence at all. There were only two possibilities for this. Either Krillin had become a deity. Without accessing Ultra Instinct, he couldn't perceive the God Key of a god. But that was clearly impossible. The other possibility was that Krillin had transformed himself into an android. Because the aura of an android couldn't be sensed either. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 17, Chapter 17 Worried Chi-Chi. Chapter 17 Worried Chi-Chi. After discussing this topic, Bulma's expression subtly changed. In fact, she had previously halted Krillin because his approach contradicted her initial thoughts. However, Krillin was exceptionally stubborn and determined. Eventually, she had no choice but to concede and transform Krillin into an artificial human. Yet Krillin appeared indifferent. He grinned and said, "You're right, Goten. I've turned myself into an artificial human. You also know that the potential of Earthlings is very limited, and it's impossible for us to become as strong as you Saiyans. Before, in order to deal with Cell, I had no other choice but to resort to this method of gaining strength. Actually, it doesn't matter because my thoughts and consciousness haven't changed in any way, it's just that my body has become stronger." Although his words sounded optimistic, only he knew the pain he endured during the transformation. Goten remained silent, unsure of what to say. In this world plagued by crises, strength truly matters. If faced with the same situation as Krillin back then, perhaps Goten would have made the same choice. Either transform into an artificial human or wait for certain death. Clearly, there was a chance of becoming an artificial human. Okay, let's not dwell on it. Besides, Cell has been dealt with now. Goten, what's next for you? Krillin changed the subject. The previous topic had cast a somber atmosphere, something he didn't appreciate. Training, continuing to train, Goten calmly replied. As a transmigrated, he knew better than anyone else the immense dangers lurking in this world. Although Cell had been defeated, there were adversaries stronger than Cell aplenty. Majin Buu, who had yet to awaken, and gods of destruction capable of obliterating a universe in an instant. Angels, the overseers of gods of destruction, and the supreme beings like the Grand Priest and Zeno. Despite having achieved the Ultra Instinct sign, in the eyes of the gods of destruction, this level was utterly vulnerable. Even the gods of destruction themselves could potentially annihilate him in an instant. To shape his own fate, he needed the strength to be formidable. This realization had become crystal clear since he arrived in this world. Therefore, even though there were currently no formidable opponents, one must never cease training along the path. But didn't you easily defeat Cell already? Now that you possess power surpassing all fighters, you should be able to relax, Krillin asked, somewhat puzzled. After all, for a 9-year-old child, plus the time chamber, Goten was burdened with excessive pressure at this time. He should be enjoying the carefree life of childhood at his age. And now that the crisis on Earth had been averted, there was no need to train so relentlessly. Or perhaps, like other Saiyans, Goten had a passion for battle. Right. He is Goku's son. Cell has indeed been dealt with, but there are still many formidable individuals in this world. Cell is like an ant compared to those true powerhouses. Of course, that includes me. The current intense training is simply to prevent the repetition of similar mistakes in the future. Goten's tone remained composed. Perhaps Krillin and the others couldn't fathom the existence of those individuals from the gods of destruction. But he himself is well aware. Upon hearing Goten's words, Krillin pondered. Indeed, he had experienced far too many desperate situations. Powerful enemies kept emerging one after another. You never knew what kind of formidable adversaries awaited in the future. Hence, training couldn't be taken lightly. Alright, I'll head back first. I suppose Mom must be a little worried about me. After saying a few words to the two, Goten's body flickered, and he vanished from the Capsule Corporation in an instant. At that moment, Krillin's expression turned solemn. After being stunned for a full 3 minutes, he turned his gaze towards Bulma, resolute, and said, "Bulma, please proceed with my transformation. My current strength is still far too feeble. I don't want to be as defenseless as I am today if I encounter stronger enemies in the future. That feeling of helplessness is truly unbearable." Well. Bulma frowned slightly. After contemplating for a moment, she nodded. This Earth truly needed the protection of Goten and Krillin. Alright. I promise you. Fire Mountain. Ah. Goten. What on earth is happening here? It hasn't even been a week since you left, and you've grown so much taller. Are you really my Goten? Chi-Chi stared at the figure of Goten in front of her, clearly finding it somewhat unbelievable. In less than a week, Goten had grown significantly taller. His entire presence was more angular and robust. The baby fat and immaturity of young children had completely vanished. The current Goten stood half a head taller than the Goten from before. Of course, I'm Goten. To deal with Cell, I trained in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber for 2 years. Goten scratched his head, feeling a bit embarrassed, with no intention of hiding anything. As for Chi-Chi, he believed there was no need for concealment. The Hyperbolic Time Chamber? Is that the mystical room in the Temple of the Guardian? Goku mentioned it to me before. I heard from Goku that the conditions there are very harsh, and the food is not good. You must have endured a lot inside. Chi-Chi looked at Goten with a worried expression. 8 years ago, she had heard Goku talk about the Hyperbolic Time Chamber in the Temple of the Gods. Goku and Gohan had also trained there. Goten was only 7 years old, and yet he had spent 2 full years inside. Thinking about the hardships he must have endured, Chi-Chi felt tremendous distress. It wasn't too bad. Actually, it wasn't too difficult. And my hard work paid off. Cell has been completely dealt with. Goten replied with a smile. Yeah. My Goten is the best. Goku and Gohan will be overjoyed to see how strong you've become. Alright, you've worked hard in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. I'll hurry and prepare some delicious food for you now. Upon saying that, Chi-Chi rushed off to prepare a scrumptious meal for Goten. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 18 Wild Videl appeared. Chapter 18 Wild Videl appeared. About half an hour later, Chi-Chi set a table full of delicacies meat from various creatures from mountains and seas. These delicacies truly came from mountains and seas. People outside the metropolises cannot taste these exquisite dishes. The reason is quite simple: Fire Mountain is inhabited by various rare and exotic animals, and ordinary individuals dare not venture there. Setting foot in such a perilous place could turn hunters into prey for saber-toothed tigers or dinosaurs. Fire Mountain is also home to giant lizards, which are exclusive delicacies. Goten, you must have starved during the 2 years in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. You need to eat a lot, Chi-Chi said, wiping her hands on her apron and assuming a housewife and a mother's appearance. Sure, thanks, Mom, Goten nodded and began devouring his meal. To be honest, when he first arrived in this place, the dishes in front of him seemed quite cautious and difficult to swallow. However, he gradually grew accustomed to eating these delicacies, which were incredibly delicious. What's more, there was an abundant quantity and generous portion size. Saiyans have a hearty appetite. Before long, Goten alone finished off the entire table of dishes. After all, the food in the hyperbolic time chamber was truly unappetizing, especially when one prepared it themselves. After eating, Goten returned to the back of Fire Mountain and resumed his training. As he had previously declared, training must never cease. If it does, he might end up like future Gohan, losing his edge. Moreover, since he had only recently achieved the Super Saiyan 2 form, it was necessary to solidify his current strength. Thus, the days passed by in an ordinary yet fulfilling manner. In the blink of an eye, 2 months flew by, and Goten remained dedicated to intense training each day. He didn't slack off after defeating Cell, for he knew that the adversaries he would face next would far surpass Cell's strength. Meanwhile, in the most remote and desolate valley of the eastern capital, there lay an enormous underground spaceship. Within the spaceship, several peculiar figures gathered around a pink, giant egg standing upright. The pink egg emitted a constant purple light, while strange figures stood before it. He. My Majin Buu, awaken swiftly, exclaimed the speaker, none other than the malevolent evil sorcerer Babidi. After awakening, you shall aid me in conquering this universe. The pink giant egg before him was, of course, the one containing the sealed Majin Buu. Currently, the top of the giant egg shimmered with purple light, indicating that Majin Buu had absorbed a substantial amount of energy. It was only a matter of time before the seal would break, releasing him. Majin Buu's energy accumulation had accelerated due to the major battle 2 months ago. Although they are not particularly familiar with those two combatants, the energy generated from their clash was truly formidable. Even the energy Babidi had gathered throughout thousands of years in the universe paled in comparison to the energy released in that great conflict. Now, if only Majin Buu would awaken promptly, they could take control of the entire universe, eliminate the self-righteous Supreme Kai, and avenge his father. Lord Babidi, there is no need to wait for Majin Buu's resurrection. I can easily dominate the world and eliminate Supreme Kai. At that moment, a man with elf ears and pink skin spoke. This man was none other than the demon Lord Dabura. He exuded unparalleled confidence, as befitting a member of the demon clan and a demon king, instilling in him an overwhelming sense of self-assurance and superiority. Shut up, Babidi snapped, displeased by Dabura's words. Speak to me like that again, and you'll become Majin Buu's fodder. Although Dabura was also formidable, he could never truly rule the world. Reviving Majin Buu remained the surest path to their goal. Yes, Lord Babidi, Dabura quickly responded with a respectful nod. He had been completely subjugated by Babidi, knowing that any defiance would result in instant destruction. Awaken swiftly, my Majin Buu. Babidi once again turned his attention to the dome before him. Meanwhile, Goten was engrossed in his training, completely oblivious to the presence of beings like Babidi. They deliberately concealed their energy signatures to avoid detection. The majority of the energy gathering was carried out by the two controlled humans. Additionally, the spiritual energy emitted by human beings was too feeble for Goten to perceive the aura of every individual on the entire planet. Rumble. Just as Goten was concluding his training session after 6 or 7 hours and preparing to rest, the sound of a helicopter's roar echoed through the air. Immediately following, a pink helicopter swiftly approached his location. Goten glanced up, not paying much attention. The approaching energy was extremely weak, slightly stronger than that of ordinary individuals, but still weaker than Chi-Chi's energy. Soon, the pink helicopter circled above Goten's head and finally landed. Rumble. A gust of wind swept across the ground, blowing away debris and dust. Then, someone stepped out of the helicopter, standing before Goten. It was only then that Goten got a clear view of the people inside the helicopter. Videl, he exclaimed in surprise. How is that possible? Seeing the individuals in the helicopter, Goten's face lit up with astonishment. He hadn't expected Mr. Satan and his daughter to be among the survivors. When Cell had left Earth 8 years ago, he had claimed many human lives. Yet, somehow, they had managed to survive. It explained why Satan had always managed to survive numerous crises throughout the original Dragon Ball series. Even during Majin Buu's destruction of the Earth, when almost all ordinary people perished, Satan had miraculously survived. While Gohan was still taken aback, Videl stepped off the helicopter and headed straight for Goten. Evidently, she had come specifically for Goten. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 19, Chapter 19. Chapter 19. Goten had a piece of fluffy grass in his mouth and, being tired from training, he rested on a rock. Upon seeing Videl's appearance, he was slightly surprised but chose not to get up. In the original Dragon Ball book, Videl is Gohan's wife. However, in this timeline, Gohan was killed during the Cell games, so there's clearly no possibility for that happening. Nevertheless, Videl actually appeared on Fire Mountain at this time, which puzzled him a little. It might be because of the warning he gave to Satan before. After all, Satan is Videl's father, and in her mind, she has always regarded him as a superhero and her role model. She has no doubts about his strength. Then something Goten said 2 months ago seemed to have made Videl question her father. You're Goten? Videl walked directly in front of Goten and asked, her face displaying a slightly surprised expression. This was because the Goten she had seen on live TV had extremely indifferent eyes. At such a young age, he exuded a murderous aura, as if he had been through countless battles. But now he appeared as a laid-back, cool guy next door. It was completely different from what she had witnessed on the live broadcast. Yes, that's me. What can I do for you? Goten nodded lazily and asked. You jerk. Do you have any idea how much damage your words from 2 months ago caused to my father's reputation? By the way, my father is Mr. Satan, the world fighting champion, Videl cut to the chase. These past 2 months have been torment for her father. Countless media reports and interviews have aimed to tear him apart. This incident has visibly aged him. She had wanted to confront Goten and seek an explanation for a while now. However, it took her 2 full months to track him down, even with her connections. Finding such a remote place was indeed challenging, and there seemed to be no signs of anyone else living here except Goten. So, you're Mr. Satan's daughter. What? Why did you frame my father in the past? 8 years ago, it was my father who defeated Cell, granting us 8 years of peace. But because of your few words, everyone began to doubt my father. Do you have any idea how humiliating this is for a world fighting champion? Videl expressed her indignation, though she also had her own doubts about her father. But for her in this world, her father is the strongest being, and it is widely accepted. However, due to Goten's previous appearance and his words, the situation has completely changed now. Oh? Goten narrowed his eyes slightly. Then he stood up and walked directly in front of Videl. Due to 2 years of training in the hyperbolic time chamber, Goten has grown significantly taller at this time, almost as tall as Videl. After all, girls are generally more petite, and Saiyans have the characteristic of sudden growth spurts, as Gohan explained to Piccolo in the movie Dragon Ball Super, Superheroes. Goku also went from being a kid to a badass guy in just 3 years when he was young. Framed? The word you used is extremely inaccurate, Goten retorted. Ask yourself, with your father's mediocre skills, do you really think he could handle Cell, who can effortlessly destroy planets? For someone like your father, Cell could crushed with a single finger. Let me tell you something, Goten continued. It was Goku and Gohan who fought Cell 8 years ago, my father and brother. They sacrificed their lives to obtain this brief peace. But the glory they earned with their own lives was shamelessly taken by Satan. Don't you think that is despicable and disgraceful? If your father is truly powerful, why was he trembling when he saw me? If he truly defeated Cell, why didn't he even dare to stand up to me? The brain is meant for thinking, not for decoration. Use your brain and think about it. Goten's lazy tone turned cold. Videl, who was actually quite intelligent in the original book, fell into silence. Yes, if her dad was truly strong enough to defeat Cell, why was he afraid of a young kid like Goten? Why did he subject himself to such humiliation? It was globally broadcasted, and everyone witnessed that scene. Such humiliation was unbearable for a world-fighting champion and savior. As she reflected on it, she realized that her dad had been lazy all these years. She had never seen him train seriously. Could it be true, as the Goten in front of her claimed, that her dad wasn't the one who defeated Cell? Impossible. How could that be? Her dad was so strong, the hero in her heart, the savior of the world. In that moment, she felt her beliefs shatter in an instant. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 20 Wild Pegasus O. Paragus arrived. Chapter 20 Wild Pegasus O. Paragus arrived. This is impossible. How could my father be such a person? Videl muttered in disbelief. Clearly, her heart wanted to believe what Goten said. However, the belief she had held onto for more than 10 years suddenly crumbled, making it difficult for her to accept this fact. Look closely, Goten said lightly, noticing Videl's continued disbelief. He instantly condensed an energy ball in the palm of his hand and launched it towards a mountain opposite them. Rumble! Accompanied by a violent roar, the mountain peak immediately turned to dust. Do you think your father has this kind of power? Gohan asked. This time, Videl's face displayed an expression of utter incredulity. She hadn't clearly seen how the mountain exploded just now, and there was no direct contact between Goten and the mountain. According to her father's viewpoint, this had to be some kind of illusion. Did you use an illusion just now? Videl asked innocently. In her father's eyes, anything unexplainable by science was deemed an illusion. Goten shook his head helplessly. Then, with a light leap, he vanished in a beam of light. Introducing this kind of phenomenon to Videl was like playing the piano to a cow. Ah! Videl was completely taken aback. That guy, Goten, could he really fly? He disappeared right before her eyes. Could this also be an illusion? No, it couldn't be. This couldn't be an illusion. You. I must find you and see what abilities you possess and how you use it. Videl clenched her fist tightly and gritted her teeth. Goten had certainly sparked her curiosity, compelling her to thoroughly study him. But for now, Goten had flown off to an unknown location, so she could only board her own helicopter and leave Fire Mountain. However, one day, she would find Goten again. She would uncover and understand everything. 10 days passed by in a flash once again. During this period, Goten remained unusually quiet. Videl didn't come after him anymore, and even Krillin hadn't returned. At this point, Goten's strength had become quite stable, reaching the level of a Super Saiyan in the second stage. If he were to encounter Super Perfect Cell now, he was confident that he could easily defeat Cell without resorting to Ultra Instinct. As Goten continued his training, he suddenly sensed some unfamiliar energy approaching Earth. These energies had never been felt on Earth before, but they were much stronger than those of ordinary humans, and they were rapidly closing in. Who could it be? Goten wondered aloud, feeling a sense of familiarity with these strange energies. He paused his training and awaited their arrival, sensing that they were specifically targeting him. After 10 minutes, a massive black shadow appeared in the sky, accompanied by a deafening roar that sounded nothing like Videl's helicopter. Within a matter of seconds, the enormous shadow descended right in front of Goten. Upon surveying the scene, Goten recognized the all-too-familiar spaceship. It was a universe ship. A universe ship from the Frisia Legion? Goten muttered to himself. But the key energy of these guys is very weak. It can't possibly be Frisia. Though the universe ship bore a striking resemblance to those of the Frisia Corp, it was evident that Frisia himself couldn't be behind it. In this timeline, Trunks had already killed Frisia in the future. Moreover, Frisia possessed a power level of at least 100 million. Clearly, these individuals aboard the spaceship didn't possess such formidable power. Goten pondered the situation. Just as Goten was contemplating, the hatch of the universe ship opened, and a group of people emerged, standing in 2 orderly rows. It was apparent that they hailed from universe. Then, a gray-haired old man stepped out of the spaceship, wearing the battle uniform of the Frisia Legion. This one-eyed man was none other than Paragus. Paragus? He immediately recognized him. Paragus was Broly's father, though he appeared older than the last time he had seen him on TV. How did you find me? Goten questioned, still puzzled. To be honest, very few people on Earth knew of his existence just 2 months ago. It was only after the battle with Cell that he became known to everyone. If Goten remembered correctly, Paragus and Broly resided in the southern galaxy. The North and South Milky Ways were vastly different, so it was surprising that Paragus managed to locate him within just 2 months, traveling from the northern galaxy to Earth. By now, Paragus had approached Goten, placing his right hand over his chest in a respectful gesture, a Saiyan's display of reverence towards the strong. Hello, Mr. Goten, Paragus greeted politely. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Paragus. Paragus's tone was courteous, yet his eyes betrayed a sinister and ruthless gleam, perhaps a reflection of the ferocity innate to pure-blooded Saiyans. I don't care who you are, Goten responded nonchalantly. What I care about is why you are here on Earth and what business you have with me. If you don't provide a suitable reason, I'll dispose of all of you instantly. Goten's interest in Paragus was minimal, but his curiosity regarding Paragus's son, Broly, was piqued. After all, Broly was a legendary Super Saiyan of pure blood. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. Your gift is the motivation for my laziness. Give me more motivation. Creation is hard, cheer me up. I tagged this book, come and support me with a thumbs up. Like it? Add to the library. Have some idea about the story? Comment on it and let me know. Chapter 21, Chapter 21 Broly, the Legendary Super Saiyan. Chapter 21 Broly, the Legendary Super Saiyan. Upon hearing this, Paragus' eyes twitched uncontrollably. A look of terror crossed his face, quickly followed by a fierce determination in his eyes. It had been half a month since he had discovered the Saiyan hybrid child standing before him, thanks to the advanced technology from other planets. According to the data displayed, the child possessed strength that surpassed all Saiyans on the planet, including King Vegeta. With such power, eliminating them would be as easy as snapping his fingers. However, Paragus had grand ambitions. His goal was to rule the universe, and this mixed-race Saiyan child standing in front of him could potentially become an obstacle in his path. The child's terrifying talent and strength at such a young age made it clear that allowing them to grow up would have disastrous consequences. Hence, his plan was to eliminate the child completely before they had the chance to mature. Although the child was currently strong, he were no match for his son, Broly. Paragus intended to use Broly's power to rid himself of this half-blood nuisance. He aimed to remove any obstacles that stood in his way of universal domination. Are you Kakarot's son? Paragus asked, his voice filled with curiosity. I used to be good comrades in arms with your grandfather, Bardock, he continued. The reason I sought you out is because you possess Saiyan blood and incredible power. I believe you have the qualifications and ability to rebuild our Saiyan planet, and eventually become its new king. This is the purpose of my visit, he concluded. Please don't reject my offer. Paragus finished his speech and knelt down on one knee, appearing genuinely sincere. However, being a transmigrated, Goten could easily discern the thoughts hidden within Paragus' heart. Though this man's strength was mediocre, his ambition was evident. With his son Broly's immense power and talent, Paragus likely already ruled over the entire southern galaxy. To achieve dominion over the universe, all obstacles had to be eliminated. Clearly, Goten had become one such obstacle in Paragus' eyes. Oh? King Saiyan? Goten replied, a mischievous smile on his face. Sounds quite impressive. Goten paid no mind to the notion of being a King Saiyan. In the vast expanse of the universe, a King Saiyan was no more than insignificant rubbish. Moreover, such a title would bring him no benefits. In this treacherous world, the key to ensuring his own safety lay in his own overwhelming power. Indeed, the title of King Saiyan held little interest for him. However, his curiosity was piqued when it came to Broly. Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan, possessed a bloodline of immense power that grew stronger with each passing day, even without training. If Goten could obtain the bloodline of the legendary Super Saiyan, his strength would undergo a remarkable transformation. And this was something the system could accomplish. Furthermore, through the system's capabilities, he might be able to acquire the legendary bloodline in the battle with Broly. Yeah. Once you become the Saiyan King, the entire universe will bow at your feet. We, the Saiyan people, will naturally follow your lead. Paragus readily agreed. In truth, his original plan was to bring Broly directly to Earth and kill the half-blood child in front of him. However, once Broly went berserk, he would become a mindless fighting machine. Earth seemed like a suitable place for habitation and could serve as his base camp once he ruled the universe. It would be a shame if it got destroyed during the battle. That's why he refrained from bringing Broly directly. Rule this universe? That sounds quite enticing. Alright, I accept your proposition, Goten replied after feigning a moment of hesitation. The allure of Broly's legendary bloodline was indeed strong. That's fantastic. Our base camp will be in the southern galaxy. Do you need to make any preparations? Paragus asked, excitement evident on his face. However, in his heart, Goten dismissed the idea. The little kid was truly gullible, a few words were enough to deceive him. It was rather naive, as if he were daydreaming of becoming a king. Little did Paragus know that his demise awaited him upon reaching the galaxy. No preparations necessary, I can't wait, Goten responded casually. Indeed, he was eager to experience the power of the legendary Super Saiyan. On a side note, perhaps he could obtain the bloodline of the legendary Super Saiyan and make a fortune. Great, in that case, let's hurry. Paragus impatiently urged. He couldn't contain his eagerness to rule the universe. The Earth's environment was undeniably favorable. Once the half-blooded nuisance was eradicated, it would become their base camp. As for the humans on the planet, they would be wiped out entirely. My esteemed king, please board the spaceship with us, Paragus said, placing his right hand over his chest in a display of respect. Yet, as Goten turned around, a devilish smile finally appeared on his face. Everyone swiftly boarded the universal spaceship. Amidst the roaring sound, the spaceship departed Earth within seconds. Heading towards the North Milky Way, even with the most advanced technology, it would still take a full 3 days to reach the destination. Saiyan Dragon Ball, real author. Fake author/translator Zach, King, Rex. I tagged this. Chapter 22 Meeting Broly. Chapter 22 Meeting Broly. 3 days later, guided by Paragus, Goten successfully arrived on a desolate planet in the southern galaxy. However, the planet appeared barren, devoid of any signs of life. All detectable life energy seemed to be concentrated in one location. In other words, apart from the members of Paragus group, there were no survivors on this planet. Paragus, is this the new Vegeta planet you've been seeking? I must say, your vision is truly lacking, Goten said sarcastically. He glanced around and spoke casually, yes. You are right. This planet is indeed quite desolate, but it aligns well with our Saiyan nature. If you desire a better planet, we can always choose again once you become king. Paragus responded respectfully, although being ridiculed by a mere child made him extremely angry. Nevertheless, this anger would soon dissipate, as it wouldn't be long before this kid disappeared from the world entirely. And the entire world would fall under his control. With that, the group continued their journey. After walking along the winding mountain path for several minutes, a structure finally came into view. However, it remained bare, devoid of any signs of lush, green life. At the entrance, a few figures stood, mostly consisting of beings from different galaxies, outlaws from across the universe. Goten paid no attention to these individuals. Instead, his gaze immediately focused on a familiar figure. Yes, that was Broly. He stood over 2 meters tall, towering above the others. Golden bands adorned his neck and limbs. Between his eyebrows, a device controlled his power and prevented him from going on a rampage. This device was put there by Paragus. Broly's eyes were eerily calm, and he seemed somewhat timid. As Goten looked at Broly, Broly also looked up at him. In an instant, his formerly calm and timid gaze transformed into a fierce expression. He. Broly let out a sinister laugh. He clenched his fists tightly, bared his teeth, and a powerful aura of death surged from his body. All hail King! At that moment, everyone from Universe kneeled before Goten simultaneously. Only Broly continued to glare fiercely at Goten, his teeth bared and mouth cracked open, resembling an awakened ancient beast. Broly! Paragus called out loudly to get Broly's attention. He then used the controller in his hand to regulate Broly's mood and energy. The device between Broly's eyebrows emitted a dazzling light. Soon, the transformation subsided. Broly, who was just grinning with a desire to devour Goten, regained his calm and delicate demeanor. Others might not comprehend what had occurred, but Goten did. Because Goten looked exactly like Goku. As Goku's son, their energy and even their voices were strikingly similar. Guess Broly mistook Goten for Goku. Your Majesty, please don't mind. He's my son, Broly. Sometimes his mood isn't normal. Paragus immediately spoke up to explain to Goten. Old man, you tricked me into coming here. It's already this late, there's no need to pretend with me. You brought me here under false pretenses just to use your son to kill me, didn't you? Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan. Do you think I know nothing? Goten turned away from Broly, then looked at Paragus and spoke calmly. What? Paragus was momentarily stunned, greatly shocked by Goten's words. Though it was indeed his intention, and his son was indeed the legendary Super Saiyan, he had never revealed this information to anyone, not even his subordinates. How did this kid in front of him know so clearly? It seemed like he already knew his motives. But why did he still follow him to this planet? Since this brat knew about the legendary Super Saiyan, he must also be aware of Broly's immense power. Why was he willingly heading to his own demise on this planet? Did he foolishly believe he could defeat the legendary Super Saiyan Broly? Meanwhile, on King Kai's planet, the deceased Goku and Gohan were also observing Goten's actions. At this moment, all of them had a pale golden halo above their heads. Death in Dragon Ball was quite casual, especially for the protagonist group. Boy Goten, since he knows Paragus has evil intentions, why is he still willing to follow him to that place? Gohan was puzzled as he looked at Goku and Vegeta, seeking an explanation. Under King Kai's abilities, although they couldn't see Goten and the others, they could clearly hear the conversation between Goten and Paragus. I don't know, Goku replied. Perhaps the legendary Super Saiyan Broly that Goten mentioned is incredibly powerful. So Goten wants to fight against him as well. Goku shook his head, speculating and explaining. Goten possessed power surpassing them all, and his talent was frighteningly strong. At less than 10 years old, he had already achieved the full transformation of Super Saiyan 2. And he had reached this level purely through his own strength. Truly, his talent was incomparable to the three of them. When he defeated Cell in seconds, they hadn't witnessed such a transformation. Even in the afterlife, they had never encountered that kind of appearance. Ha! Do you think that brat is you, Kakarot? That kid is much smarter than you. He must have more than just fighting a powerful opponent in mind. Watch closely. He might become even stronger next time. Vegeta glanced at Goku, crossing his arms over his chest, and proudly declared. Even after spending 8 years in the afterlife, his arrogant nature hadn't changed a bit. Oh. Is that so? Goku scratched the back of his head and naively expressed his curiosity.